Chapter 1042. A golden light flashed on the surface of Lu Ping's body. After he opened his palm, all the golden light on his body gathered in the center of his palm. A black pill grew from nothing, from small to large. When the golden light dissipated, a black pill the size of a grape appeared in Lu Ping's palm. This pill was the poison that had invaded Lu Ping's body earlier. After it had been forced out of his body by the meteoric power of 1,000 poisons, it had condensed in the center of Lu Ping's palm. Even the meteoric power of 1,000 poisons could not completely absorb it. He abruptly threw the pill into the air, and a hole appeared in midair. On the other side of the hole was a bluestone pool. The pill fell into the pool, but it didn't cause any ripples. Then, it disappeared without a trace. Lu Ping straightened his clothes and walked calmly out of the small alley. At this time, Phantom City had already become a pot of porridge. A Dharma adept had been assassinated and was on the verge of death. This was enough to turn the entire Phantom City upside down. According to the news, the assassin's body had already been destroyed by Chui Laozu. He had only escaped with his damaged Dharma power. At this time, he had to find someone to take over in the shortest time possible. Otherwise, he would definitely die within a certain period of time. Once the possession was successful, it would be extremely difficult to find this person again. Lu Ping looked at the practitioners and pedestrians around him, and could not help but quicken his pace. He was not worried that at this time, someone would recognize him as the person who had almost been possessed. This was because at this time, Lu Ping was still disguised as a demon practitioner. The demon transformation bracelet on his wrist had completely transformed his aura into demon aura. If the Dharma power wanted to possess a demon practitioner, it would first have to transform the person into his original form. At this time, Lu Ping was still in his human form, so naturally, no one would suspect him. At this time, in the illusionary spirit pavilion, an old man at the Dharma plane suddenly opened his eyes. When he looked down, he saw that the oil lamp in his hand had already been extinguished. He breathed a sigh of relief and said, "It seems that the possession was not successful and has already fallen. Tell all the disciples to disperse." Around this Dharma adept, there were a few other adepts whose cultivation levels were similar to his. Hearing this, their faces relaxed. Then, they conjured various talismans, jade slips, and swords in their hands and flew through the air. Lu Ping hurriedly made his way to the Spirit Gathering Island. When he passed by a remote area, he suddenly sprinkled some water on his body. Returning to his original appearance, Lu Ping took off the demon transformation bracelet on his wrist. When he appeared again, he was already the Fantasy Spirit City's alchemy grandmaster, Jinling cultivator Lu Tianping. Lu Ping had just returned to Jinling's encampment in Soul Gathering Island when he saw Perfected Xian Ling walking towards him in a hurry. "Senior Shi, where are you going?" Perfected Xian Ling's face lit up when she saw Lu Ping. She said, "Junior Lu, do you know what happened in Fantasy Spirit City?" Lu Ping smiled and said, "How could I not know? Fantasy Spirit City is about to be turned upside down. The Northern Alliance's Dharma adept, Chui Laozu, was actually injured by an assassin. With the current situation in Fantasy Spirit City, this is really a joke." Perfected Xian Ling looked around. Seeing that there was no one nearby, she said, "You are really brave. Anyone can see that something is wrong. However, Grandfather just received news that Chui Laozu has died from his injuries. Grandfather has already left for the Fantasy Spirit Court. Before he left, he ordered us to find you. Right now, everyone is panicking. There is no Dharma adept in the encampment, and Grandfather is worried that something will happen." Lu Ping nodded. He knew that someone had a method similar to the soul lamp to monitor Chui Laozu's condition. Previously, Chui Laozu's will had been burned to death by Lu Ping's green phosphorus soul fire. The poison dragon Dharma power had also been turned into a mess by the dragon Dharma power. Thus, someone had immediately received news of what had happened. This also allowed Lu Ping to relax. He knew that Chui Laozu had really died. However, he could not help but be afraid. Luckily, the person who killed Chui Laozu only had his soul lamp. If there were other methods that could track Chui Laozu's Dharma power, he would have been the one dead when he thought about the intense battle between him and Chui Laozu's Dharma power in the core space. He did not have any sense of what was happening in the outside world. At that time, he was afraid that he would be the one dead. Lu Ping pulled himself together and forced a smile. Don't worry. The 9 elites, now it should be the 8 elite sects, and the Crystal Palace will not let anything happen to Fantasy Spirit City. Furthermore, they can't wait for someone to jump out so that they can see clearly who is still on the side of the Northern Alliance. Perfected Xian Ling was shocked. You mean? Lu Ping laughed. It's just a wild guess. There's no proof. However, there doesn't seem to be any need for proof, right? In the secret room, Lu Ping had just sat down cross-legged when he immediately stood up. He continuously used several techniques to hit the surrounding walls. Only when Lu Ping confirmed that there would not be too much danger did he relax. Sitting cross-legged on the ground, Lu Ping's mind first sank into the House of Gold. In the bluestone pool at the top of Little Lonely Mountain, the myriad poison liquid had almost filled the entire pool. The surface of the golden liquid would occasionally show signs of water. Lu Ping's eyes shone with a green light. He could see that this was because the ball of myriad wonder dew at the bottom of the pool was rolling. At this time, this ball of myriad wonder dew was no longer the same as what Lu Ping had seen previously. Its volume had almost doubled. Lu Ping estimated that if he were to take this ball of myriad wonder dew out of the water, he would be able to divide it into at least 4 portions. However, compared to the huge ball of myriad wonder dew, most of Lu Ping's attention was on the myriad poison liquid in the pool in front of him. At that time, Lu Ping had only wanted to help the infernal poison fire to dissolve the life poison fire that Chui Laozu's Transcendence Poison Flood Dragon had spat out. Unexpectedly, this myriad poison liquid was able to activate the life poison technique of Chui Laozu's Transcendence Poison Flood Dragon. Moreover, it was able to easily dissolve and destroy these techniques. It was also because of the appearance of the myriad poison source liquid that Chui Laozu spoke of, that Chui Laozu had no choice but to use the Transcendence Poison Flood Dragon to fight against Lu Ping at the last moment. In the end, he was suppressed by the Dragon Transcendence Poison Flood Dragon. If not for this, Lu Ping would have had to go through a lot of trouble to defeat the Transcendence Poison Flood Dragon. Just the poison of the Transcendence Poison Flood Dragon was enough to restrict the Dragon Transcendence Poison Flood Dragon. But as for what the myriad poison source liquid was, Lu Ping was confused. Was this not the myriad poison liquid? Or was the myriad poison liquid itself also called the myriad poison source liquid? But if the myriad poison source liquid and the myriad poison source liquid were the same thing, why didn't Lu Ping know that the myriad poison liquid had the heaven-defying effect of dissolving the life poison cultivator's life magic? Not to mention, there were many people who had come into contact with Lu Ping's pool of myriad poison liquid, including his spirit pets and his 3 disciples. Some of them might not be as knowledgeable as him, but at least his 3 spirit pets had inherited memories of the myriad poison liquid. Not to mention, they also cultivated poison techniques. How could they not know about the myriad poison liquid? However, none of them had mentioned that the myriad poison liquid had the heaven-defying effect of nullifying a poison cultivator's natal technique. Lu Ping was puzzled, so he called Samling over and asked, "Do you know what the myriad poison source liquid is?" "The myriad poison source liquid, ? Lu Linger jumped up first and said, "Father, you found the myriad poison source liquid. Where is it? Let me have a look." Seeing Lu Linger's reaction, Lu Ping knew that they must know something. But they had smelted the myriad poison meteorite energy gang before, but they didn't recognize the liquid in the bluestone pool. Obviously, the records of this liquid in their inherited memories were not clear. Lu Ping patted Lu Linger's head, telling her to calm down, and then said to Lu Bai, "Buyer, you tell them." Lu Bai thought for a while and said, "The records of the Green Sea Snake's inherited memories are not clear. It seems that no one has ever seen this liquid. But there is a legend that when the 7th Patriarch opened up the world, there were no poisons in the world. Taoist Ge used something to refine the first poisonous pill in the world, but Jiao Daoren swallowed it by mistake. Jiao Daoren forced the poison out of his body and spat out a mouthful of poisonous blood, which then formed the fallen secret land, which is confined by the heavenly poisonous wall. But according to the legend, the moment Jiao Daoren swallowed the poisonous pill, he realized something was wrong. He hurriedly forced out a small part of the essence of the poisonous pill, but most of the poison had already invaded his body and was finally spat out by Jiao Daoren with poisonous blood. The small part of the essence of the poisonous pill was the myriad poison source liquid. Lu Ping's heart was in turmoil, but he still looked calm and said, "That is to say, the myriad poison source liquid is a small part of the essence of the first poisonous pill in the world, which was refined by Taoist Ge?" Lu Bai thought for a while and said, "That's about it. It's just that although this legend has been passed down, no one has actually seen the 10,000 poison source liquid. Even the Emerald Sea Spirit Snake Clan's generations of almighty experts think that this is nonsense." Lu Hai interrupted at this time. "More than that. What's more, because the small part of the myriad poison source liquid is the first poisonous liquid in the world, it can restrain all poisons in the world. Even the magical seeds of some poisonous cultivators may be abolished in front of this myriad poison source liquid. Compared with it, the myriad poison source liquid is just a joke. But because this myriad poison source liquid has never appeared, almost no one in the world of cultivation believes it except for some fanatical poisonous cultivators. That's why the myriad poison source liquid is called the myriad poison source liquid. Fanatical poisonous cultivators? Lu Ping was startled. Chu Yi Laozu was naturally such a person. Then, although the Lu family, which came from the number 1 alchemy family in the central region, was not a poisonous cultivator, their knowledge of poisonous techniques would not be weak. Back then, the Lu family deliberately set up a branch in the North Sea and changed its appearance to become the Liao family of today. Was it because of the myriad poison source liquid in the 7 Stars Cave Heaven? Thinking of Liao Ding, who died in the Golden Valley of the 7 Stars Cave Heaven, and Liao Hu, who he met when he entered the Golden Valley, and some time ago, when the 7 Stars Cave Heaven opened, the cultivators of the Lu family did not hesitate to expose the Liao family, who had been hiding in the North Sea for more than 1,000 years, in order to enter the 7 Stars Cave Heaven. The more Lu Ping thought about it, the more he felt that the Lu family was so eager to enter the 7 Stars Cave Heaven for the thing in the Bluestone Pool. If it was only the myriad poison source, how could the number 1 alchemy family in the central region have been planning for more than 1,000 years? Chapter 1043. Lu Linger looked suspiciously at the green stone pool behind Lu Ping and suddenly smiled. "Father, you can't be thinking that the green stone pool behind you is the 10,000 poison source liquid, right?" Lu Ping blinked his eyes and asked with a smile. "Why not?" Lu Linger smiled and said, "It's very simple. Our shield of vigor comes from the liquid in this pool. If it really is the 10,000 poison source liquid, with our blood condensation realm cultivation, how could we have smelted such a treasure of heaven and earth?" Lu Ping was stunned. Lu Ping could not explain what Lu Linger said. However, this pool of 10,000 poison source liquid had easily dissolved Zhi Laozu's poison technique. This was something that Lu Ping had seen with his own eyes. Lu Ping shook his head and absolutely did not think about these things anymore. After all, the 10,000 poison source liquid was only a legend. As for the characteristics of the 10,000 poison source liquid, there was no legend passed down, so Lu Ping had no way to judge. However, Lu Ping still set up layers of formations around the green stone pool on the small mountain, firmly confining this pool of 10,000 poison source liquid in the small mountain and preventing others from accidentally entering it. Of course, before Lu Ping left, he once again divided a whole portion of the 10,000 wonder dew from the blue liquid at the bottom of the green stone pool. This 10,000 wonder dew was one of the few treasures of heaven and earth that could be used for alchemy. Not to mention other things, just among the longevity pills that could extend one's life by more than 15 years, most of them needed the 10,000 Wonder Dew as the main ingredient or spirit guide. Moreover, Lu Ping could also feel that the 10,000 Wonder Dew in the greenstone pool was still constantly being produced, especially after absorbing the life poison technique seed of a late Dharma adept. The liquid in the pool seemed to be saturated in some aspect, and a mysterious power was continuously gathering in the 10,000 Wonder Dew. Once again immersed his divine consciousness into the core space, the pure Yang Pearl had already returned to the Dharma power auspicious cloud. Lu Ping could feel a trace of pure Yang Qi from the pure Yang Pearl to the Dragon Dharma power. In addition to strengthening the foundation of the Dragon Dharma power, it was also subtly enhancing Lu Ping's cultivation. The jade phosphorus soul fire on top of the Lilong wine cauldron was still burning, and a Dharma power spirit was already floating above the jade phosphorus soul fire. Clearly, this Dharma power spirit had already been filtered by the Linglong wine cauldron and the jade phosphorus soul fire. Only a light red flexible sword was left in the Linglong wine cauldron. This light red flexible sword was obviously Qi Laozu's personal spiritual treasure. It had once gone through its first lightning tribulation, but now its spiritual nature was greatly damaged. If not for the fact that it had already been severely damaged, it would not have regressed all the way to the peak Yangling level because of Cui Laozu's death. Lu Ping held the flexible sword in his hand and examined it carefully. He shook his head to himself. Although he was not proficient in forging armaments, he still had a good eye for things. This flying sword had already been damaged, and unless all the restrictions were removed, it would not be able to return to the level of a spiritual treasure. What a pity! Lu Ping was already thinking about whether he should try to fuse this flying sword with the thin water-flowing sword to see if this pair of flying swords could cross that threshold in one fell swoop. The Dragon Dharma power poked its head out of the Dharma power auspicious cloud, opened its mouth and inhaled. The second Dharma power spirit floating above the Linglong wine cauldron wobbled and flew into the Dharma power auspicious cloud. Although this second Dharma power spirit was not as pure and thick as Fei Tian Laozu's pure Yang soul, it was at least a level higher than the Dharma power spirit that Jiang Tianlin, Jiang Shi, and the others had obtained in the Yingtian dojo. For the current Lu Ping, it happened to be easier for him to absorb, and the growth of Lu Ping's cultivation was more significant. In the battle with Cui Laozu's poison dragon Dharma power, Lu Ping had suffered quite a bit. At the very least, he had not yet recovered his divine sense. In order to extinguish the poisonous fire of the poison dragon Dharma power, the dragon Dharma power had also lost a mouthful of origin water, and a third of the Dharma power auspicious cloud had been melted. These were all signs of Lu Ping's cultivation strength. There was also the poisonous smoke that had been trapped by the dark prison fire. Originally, Lu Ping had been completely absorbed by the 10,000 poison liquid in the bluestone pool, but now he had discovered that there were still some traces of it left in the core space. If he did not deal with it in time, with Cui Laozu's methods, it would inevitably leave behind a great hidden danger. At this time, Lu Zhaoping was sitting in the middle of the Dharma power auspicious cloud under the pure Yang Pearl, feeling wrong. He had been sent flying by the poison dragon Dharma power. Even though his body was made of 8,000-year-old gray willow spiritual wood, there were still some faint cracks on it. Fortunately, at this time, his entire body was covered with a dense array of runic patterns. The cracks slowly began to heal under the flickering light of these runic patterns. When these cracks had completely disappeared from his body, Lu Zhaoping's expression darkened. He opened a door in his chest and took out a dull stone from within. This was the last piece of top-quality spirit stone he had on him. Lu Zhaoping could only carry 3 top-quality spirit stones on him. In the previous battles, his avatar had already used up 2 of them, and the poison dragon Dharma power had used up another one to heal its wounds. Although the consumption was huge, Lu Zhaoping's might had made Lu Ping feel that it was all worth it. At the very least, the number of blood Mara that had died at Lu Zhaoping's hands was no less than 2. Just as Lu Zhaoping was feeling depressed, a door suddenly appeared in front of him. Lu Zhaoping jumped up and fiddled with the door for a while. After a while, he happily took out 3 top-quality spirit stones and placed one of them into the door in his chest. After that, the darkness on Lu Xiaoping's body was swept away. He jumped up and rode on the cloud sail rock spirit to play. After rewarding his avatar, Lu Ping's attention was shifted to the scissors that was still suppressed by the natal gentian formation. This was a second tribulation spirit treasure. The power that it had wreaked havoc in the core space had left Lu Ping speechless. When Linglong's wine cauldron and cloud sail rock saw this thing, they could only flee. If not for the natal gentian formation's suppression, it was hard to say who would have won the battle with Chui Laozu. The Dharma form of the dragon was still hovering over the white jade lotus. It was precisely because of the Dharma form of the dragon that the scissors had not been able to cause any trouble under the suppression of the natal gentian formation. Lu Ping's divine sense circled around the scissors. The scissors seemed to be aware of something and suddenly shook violently. The 12 gentian beads around it suddenly shone brightly. The white jade lotus flickered with silver-white light, and dense spirit silk runes appeared on the surface of the scissors. The whole scissors was like a crocodile with its mouth tied. The spirit treasure that could not be opened was no longer dangerous to Lu Ping. "Come out, maybe we should talk now." The spirit treasure should have been baptized by the thunder tribulation, so it was inevitable that it would give birth to a spirit treasure. Linglong's wine cauldron and cloud sail rock were like this, so this second tribulation spirit treasure that had survived 2 thunder tribulations must be the same. Moreover, the spirituality of the spirit treasure was probably higher than Linglong and the golden rock. At this time, the scissors had stopped shaking, but it still floated in the air without moving. No matter what Lu Ping said, the spirit treasure still did not appear. Lu Ping was not happy and said, "It seems that it is really tough." With a wave of his hand, the green phosphorus soul fire appeared in front of the scissors. The scissors suddenly shook violently. Obviously, after seeing Laozu's Dharma form and divine sense being burned to death by the fire, it already knew how much damage this kind of fire could do to the spirit treasure. "Since you already know that you are afraid, but you still hide. It seems that you are really a person who will not shed a tear until you see the coffin." There were only 2 ways to tame a spirit treasure. The first was for the spirit treasure to choose its own master. The second was to forcefully cut off the previous connection between the spirit treasure and its previous master and get rid of the divine sense imprint that the previous master had left on the spirit treasure. Then, the spirit treasure would be refined and the spirit treasure would be rebranded into the spirit treasure. Spirit treasures might be more stubborn when faced with core forging adepts, and some might even kill off some core forging adepts. However, in front of Dharma adepts, the spirit treasure that had lost its master would usually be very obedient. Even if it was unwilling to recognize its master, it would still stay far away. Once it was captured by a Dharma adept, it would most likely yield. This was because the Dharma power in the core space of a Dharma adept was the condensation of the Dharma power of the Dharma adept. Even if it could not tame the spirit treasure, it was easy to kill it. In the face of such a threat, the spirit treasure of the scissors did not appear. From Lu Ping's point of view, it might not be because of the spirit treasure of the scissors, but because of Chui Laozu's imprint. Could it be that Chui Laozu still had some tricks up his sleeves? As soon as Lu Ping thought of this, the jade phosphorus soul fire flew towards the scissors without hesitation. The formless flames licked and licked the scissors' body. Amidst the cries of ghosts and wolves, a cloud of black smoke rose from the scissors' body. Something was indeed strange. Lu Ping's heart jumped. Luckily, he had been cautious and did not try to refine the scissors because it was trapped. Otherwise, he might have been at a disadvantage. The black smoke rose into the air and gradually formed an old and lifeless face. This must be the true face of Chui Laozu. But because Chui Laozu had already fallen at the hands of Lu Ping, this imprint was now lifeless. The jade phosphorus soul fire burned brightly, and the strange face formed by the black smoke twisted and contorted in the fire. From time to time, it turned into a strange snake, and then into an eagle. After a while, the black smoke finally dissipated in the fire. "Don't burn it! Don't burn it!" An anxious voice suddenly came from the scissors. If you burn it any more, it will melt! Lu Ping snorted and said, Come out! A mantis jumped out from the scissors and waved its two large blades. It said, It's not that I don't want to come out. That guy almost wanted to refine me into his avatar before he died. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been able to break free from his imprint. Lu Ping frowned and asked, What's your name? The praying mantis swung its two blades horizontally and vertically and said, Cut in half. My name is Have, one cut in two. Chapter 1044. Doppelganger? Since when can spiritual treasures become doppelgangers? Lu Ping asked the praying mantis with some surprise. Could this be one of Qi Laozu's secret techniques? The praying mantis waved its scimitars forward and said, Oh, that's right. He probably wants to refine me into his natal spiritual treasure. His own natal spiritual treasure has been reduced from a spiritual treasure to a spirit-nurturing treasure, and its spirituality has been greatly damaged. It can no longer advance, so he wants to refine me into his natal spiritual treasure. If there was any type of spiritual treasure that could resist other Dharma adepts, it would be the natal spiritual treasure left behind by other adepts. After Qi Laozu's sword was destroyed, he turned his attention to the natal spiritual treasure in two. Although this kind of natal spiritual treasure might not be as easy to refine as a natal spiritual treasure from the beginning, Qi Laozu obviously did not want to waste so much time to refine a new natal spiritual treasure. Furthermore, the natal spiritual treasure in two was a second tribulation spiritual treasure, which was one level higher than Laozu's original natal spiritual treasure. Lu Ping saw that the praying mantis was so heartless, so he said, What about now? What do you say? The praying mantis retracted its scimitars and said, What else can I do? Now that I'm in your hands, I'm at your mercy. Lu Ping saw that it knew what to do and smiled. The dragon raised its head, and a blue aura emanated from its mouth towards the scimitars. The praying mantis waved its scimitars back and forth on the body of the scimitars. The blue aura began to seep into the praying mantis's body bit by bit. Wow, such pure water-based inner yuan, such a strong spirituality. You practice water-based techniques. Have you heard of the water-breaking technique? Lu Ping's heart skipped a beat. Some people with great supernatural powers would often leave their best supernatural powers and their magic treasures and spirit treasures to be passed on to later generations. Because these magic treasures and spirit treasures were often difficult to damage, such inheritance might last longer and not be lost. At least, it was much safer than leaving it in the cave ruins. After the thin water-flowing sword in Lu Ping's hands was combined, he would be able to obtain the supreme divine sword art, the vast sea sword art, which had been passed down by the vast sea Laozu, as well as the vast sea sex cultivation method, the vast sea art. Water-breaking divine skill, this seems to be the supreme divine skill of the Kui water lineage of the Wuxing school in the Holy Land of the Central Earth. You actually have this kind of divine skill inheritance? Lu Ping was shocked. The water-breaking technique was one of the 5 supreme divine skills of the Wuxing school. Legend had it that it was left behind by the water-breaking technique, one of the 5 founders of the Wuxing school, Laozu, who specialized in the Kui water lineage. It was a household name in the cultivation world. The water-breaking technique, Laozu, was once fortunate enough to sit down with Jiao Daoren and Taoist Ape, the 2 founders of the Heaven Laozu, to listen to their teachings. Back then, Taoist Ape was a belligerent and fought with the other 6 founders of the Heaven Laozu, but he was only defeated by Ping Daoren and Jiao Daoren. He was on par with Taoist Hu. When Jiao Daoren challenged Jiao Daoren avoided him. Taoist Ape repeatedly provoked Jiao Daoren, so Jiao Daoren had no choice but to take action. With just a stretch of his hand, the largest river in the Central Earth, Qingning River, was cut off. Taoist Ape knew he was no match for Jiao Daoren and decisively retreated. It was after witnessing Jiao Daoren's unparalleled divine power that Laozu, water-breaking technique, was created. From then on, she called herself water-breaking Laozu. After the other 4 Laozu founded the Wuxing school, the water-breaking technique became the supreme divine skill of the Kui water lineage of the Kui water lineage. The praying mantis said, "It's just that the water-breaking technique is incomplete. It only records 3 kinds of basic great divine skills and dharma spells. Even so, when combined, it's no weaker than an ordinary supreme divine skill." A thought occurred to Lu Ping and he asked, "Do you know how many basic great divine skills there are in the complete water-breaking technique?" The praying mantis said, 5, that should be it. But from my memory it seems that in the tens of thousands of years of Wishing School's inheritance, only a few cultivators with great divine skills have mastered and combined all 5 great divine skills into the complete water-breaking technique. The rest of the people who can come into contact with this great divine skill can at most barely combine 3 or 4 basic great divine skills into a supreme divine skill. They're still far from the real supreme divine skill." Lu Ping's heart was in turmoil, but he asked, "How do you know so much? Could it be that you're a spiritual treasure that wandered out from Wishing School?" The praying mantis swung its huge blades to the left and right, as if it was extremely disdainful. It said, "That's not it. I've been in the Northern Alliance since I became a spiritual treasure. It's been less than 5,000 years since then. During this time, I've changed masters a few times. Every time I'm refined, I'll lose a part of my memory. This is the fate of spiritual treasure spirits. Until now, the clearest memories I can remember are the things that happened in the last 300 years. Other than the inheritance I carried and the time of my birth, I've gradually forgotten the rest. After you refine me, I don't know how much of my memory will be left. Has Chu Laozu ever learned this water-breaking technique? Him? He's a master of poison arts, and the nature of his dharma form is also incompatible with my body. The reason why he refined me was because he, as one of the 3 great Laozu of the Northern Alliance, was interested in my second tribulation spiritual treasure. In his hands, it's already not bad if he can unleash 80% of my power." While the two were talking, Lu Ping's spiritual yuan had gradually dyed the praying mantis's entire body into a bluish-purple color. The praying mantis's head tilted back and forth, as if it was yawning. It said, "Once I'm refined again, I'll feel sleepy. I'll sleep for a while. Remember to nurture your spiritual yuan, or else I won't know how long you'll be able to use me." In the secret chamber, Lu Ping opened his eyes. With a wave of his hand, a pair of black scissors, about half a foot long, appeared in Lu Ping's hand. The sharp edge of the scissors shone with a cold light, and an inexplicable light flashed in his eyes. Water-breaking technique, Wishing School's Kui water lineage. It seems that the Northern Alliance's waters are also very deep. With a clench of his hand, the scissors suddenly disappeared. In the Dharma form's auspicious cloud, this second tribulation spiritual treasure had squeezed out the position once occupied by the Linglong wine tripod and the cloud sail. However, it was also tactful and did not challenge the position of the gentian pearl and the white jade lotus. It firmly occupied the second position outside the dragon Dharma form, and slowly absorbed the wisp of yuan qi that leaked out when the dragon Dharma form breathed in and out. Light flashed in Lu Ping's hand, and a jade box appeared in his hand. After opening it, there was a bowl of golden liquid inside. It was the golden water that Lu Ping had obtained in the Phantom City. Lu Ping's eyes had already fused 7 types of heaven and earth water, and he was only 2 away from completing the 3 pure true eyes. If he could successfully fuse the metal water, he would be left with the last type of heaven and earth water, which would also be the most difficult to find. The rare water needed to cultivate the 3 purities true pupils was very difficult to find. Moreover, as the cultivation of the 3 purities true pupils deepened, the quality of the rare water needed would become higher and higher. Moreover, it would also become rarer and rarer, making it more difficult to find. However, the 3 pure ones true pupils was an extremely useful spell. Lu Ping had benefited from the 3 pure ones true pupils several times when he was in the cultivation world. Placing the jade box containing the golden water in front of him, Lu Ping's eyes suddenly shone with azure light. The golden water suddenly rose from the jade box, turned into 2 thin threads, and gathered in his eyes. Immediately after, the azure light in Lu Ping's eyes became even brighter, and a faint golden light flickered, but after a moment, it was submerged in the azure light. 1 month later, on a desolate reef outside of Soul Gathering Island, Xian Yong, Xian Feng, Xian Ling, and Xian Heng were working together to kill Mara, who was trapped by Taoist Xian Peng's formation. Hurry up, the great devil cultivator who led the group has already sent a signal. If we wait any longer, Mara's reinforcements will arrive. Taoist Xian Peng struggled to maintain the operation of the formation, and once again blocked the escaping Mara back into the formation. He shouted anxiously. All right, it's all because of you. Seeing that the group of Mara was about to be caught, you couldn't wait any longer. In the end, you activated the formation too early, and the leading devil cultivator almost escaped. Xian Yong shouted loudly as he stabbed the two Mara, who wanted to sneak attack from behind with his spear. Taoist Master Xian Peng took out a high-grade spirit stone from his storage magic artifact and inserted it into the formation disc in his hand. He immediately replied, You're still talking about it? If you hadn't jumped out in a hurry to fight, would that Xioma have sent out a distress signal? Xian Yong opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of flames, forcing back the two devils that were trying to besiege Taoist Xianling, and then he said, Bullshit! If I hadn't fucking acted in advance, that great devil cultivator would have fled. Spiritual Master Xian Ling had already killed the fifth Azura with the help of the formation. When she turned around and saw the two of them bickering, she had no choice but to say, All right, stop talking. I've already killed 5 Azura, how many have you killed? Xian Yong smiled proudly. 4, but 3 of them were core forging stage Big Mara. Taoist Master Xian Ling glared at him in annoyance. Taoist Master Xian Heng, who was not far away, waved his hands, and a wave rose out of nowhere, directly smacking a devil cultivator to death. He said, 6, 2 great devils! Taoist Xian Peng shouted outside the formation. I don't care how many you killed, 1/5 of the spoils are mine. Xian Yong shouted from inside the formation. Don't even think about it. It's your fault that the devil cultivator sent out the signal for help. Some of your spoils will be deducted. Taoist Xian Peng was about to protest when he heard Taoist Xian Feng's cold voice. 7 Mara, for Big Mara, noisy! Taoist Xian Yong was stunned and said angrily, You cheated. Why did you kill so many? However, after that, everyone stopped bickering and started to kill Mo Luo, who was trapped by the formation, with all their might. When the last devil cultivator was burned alive by Taoist Xian Yong, Taoist Xian Peng let out a long sigh of relief and began to withdraw the formation. At this moment, Taoist Xian Feng suddenly shouted, Watch out! Taoist Xian Peng was stunned. He immediately felt a chill behind him. Chapter 1045. Fortunately, Taoist Master Xian Peng had long been used to this kind of environment that was full of danger during the past few months. Hearing Taoist Master Xian Feng's reminder, the light under his feet flashed, and he dragged Taoist Master Xian Feng's body to the side to hide. However, the strength of the attacker was clearly beyond everyone's expectations. A blood shura flashed out of the void, and the companion's spiritual treasure that had struck the air suddenly changed direction and slashed horizontally along Sage Xian Peng's shoulder. Ah! Sage Xian Peng screamed in pain. His left arm had fallen off at the shoulder. Enduring the pain, Sage Xian Peng turned around and picked up his fallen left arm with his right hand. At the same time, he spat out a formation board outlined by spirit chi and covered the wound on his left shoulder with a pop. The gushing blood immediately stopped, but Sage Xian Peng's face still turned pale because of the blood loss, and beads of sweat began to drip down his cheeks. The blood shura cut off Sage Xian Peng's left arm with one strike. He laughed hideously and slashed at Sage Xian Peng with the companion's spiritual treasure in his hand again. At this time, Xian Yong had already run over with a roar, but it was too late. Clang! The blood shura's companion's spiritual treasure was broken into 2. Sage Xian Peng escaped death. Ignoring the pain of his broken arm, he scrambled towards Xian Yong, who was coming to his rescue. The blood Shura was stunned when he saw the companion's spiritual treasure in his hands suddenly break in two, and then he screamed. The companion's spiritual treasure had grown with Mara, so the blood Shura would also be seriously injured when the companion's spiritual treasure was destroyed. Lu Ping suddenly appeared on the sea outside the barren reef, but he did not look at the blood Shura. Instead, he frowned and looked at the place where the sea and the sky met. At this time, the blood Shura knew that the person in front of him was the person who cut off his companion's spiritual treasure. However, the person's ability to destroy the companion's spiritual treasure so easily frightened the blood Shura. Seeing that the person did not notice him, the blood Shura turned to escape. However, just as he was about to cast the space god art, he seemed to see the friar waving his hand at him. It seemed like two blades suddenly slashed out from Lu Ping's hands. The Shura then crashed into the portal. However, in the sea 10 miles away, when the portal opened, a head fell off first. Then, the Shura's body was thrown out of the portal. Linglong's wine cauldron jumped out from the void. The mouth of the cauldron faced downwards towards Mara's dissolving corpse. A cyan-colored essence was sucked into the cauldron before disappearing. At this moment, Xian Ling had already arrived in front of Taoist Xianping. She began to examine the wound on Taoist Xianping's arm. Xianping Immortal laughed bitterly and said, "There is no need to look. There is a strange power on Mara's companion's spiritual treasure. It has caused the flesh and blood in the wound to die. This broken arm can't be reattached." As Xianping Immortal spoke, he lifted the broken arm in his right hand. Only then did Xianling see that the bone and flesh where the broken arm was broken had died a lot. The wound on the shoulder had been blocked by Xianping Immortal's real vitality, but the bone and flesh that were not injured had further necrosis. Xianling turned to call Lu Ping, but she saw that Lu Ping had come to their side. Lu Ping nodded at Xianling, motioning for her to stay away. Then, he slapped Xianping Immortal's back. Xianping Immortal felt a huge wave wash over his whole body in an instant. Then, he felt a sweetness in his throat and spat out a mouthful of cyan-red blood. At the same time, a spirit chi ray disc on the wound on his shoulder was instantly broken by the blood that shot out from the wound. Xianping Immortal's pale face became even more haggard. A dignified late-stage core forging cultivator was on the verge of collapse. If Xian Yong hadn't rushed over to support him, he would have fallen to the ground. Xian Heng and Xian Feng also rushed over. Xian Heng was worried about his old friend's safety. He asked anxiously, "Junior brother Tianping, what is going on? How did he get poisoned?" Lu Ping gave a spirit pill to Xianping Immortal and forced him to swallow it. Then, he said, "It's poison azura." Poison azura? The few of them were stunned. They had experienced many battles with demonic Luo over the years, but they had never seen poison azura. Lu Ping didn't explain in detail. Instead, he ordered them, "Quickly pack up. We have to leave this place as soon as possible." Seeing how serious Lu Ping was, they didn't ask for the reason. Instead, they quickly tidied up the Mo Luo team's spoils of war. They mainly cast out a few special mystic instruments to collect as much of the Mo Luo's essence as possible. After returning to Soul Gathering Island, Lu Ping would purify the essence and use it to concoct essence condensing pellets, spirit forging pellets, and other consumables. Just after everyone finished collecting, they saw that Lu Ping had already put Xianping Immortal on Lu China's back. Lu Ping said anxiously, "Go!" Everyone didn't know what was going on. They all followed behind Lu China. At this moment, Xianling sensed something and turned around. She suddenly exclaimed. When they heard the sound and turned around, they saw that Mara had appeared at the point where the sky and the sea met. They were heading in the direction of Spirit Gathering Island. When they returned to Spirit Gathering Island, the Laozu of the various sects on the island had already heard the news. The sky was filled with all kinds of talismans, swords, and talismans. The disciples of various sects were in and out of the island. It was a mess. No one had expected that Mara's army would abandon Phantom City and head for Spirit Gathering Island. More than 10 Dharma adepts rose into the air and gathered together. Although everyone's expressions did not look good, none of them panicked. The protective matrices of the 5 islands were connected, and the Phantom City was the core of the entire matrix. If the Mara army could not even break through the Phantom City, it would be even more impossible for them to break through the protective matrices here. Of course, the cultivators on the island naturally wouldn't allow Mara's army to attack. Otherwise, no matter how strong the protective array was, it would be broken one day. Mara's army got closer and closer. The bodies of the Laozus of the various sects all emitted a strong aura. Beams of light flashed on everyone's bodies. It was obvious that the treasures on the Laozus' bodies were ready to be used. Below these Laozus, groups of core forging adepts also flew up from the island. Their bodies were also flashing with light and their treasures were circling around them. The Mara's army got closer and closer, but they didn't stop at all. They charged straight towards the protective array of Spirit Gathering Island. Everyone was stunned. Did Mara's army think that they could break through the protective array of Spirit Gathering Island just by charging at it with their bodies? They were getting closer and closer. Many of the cultivators' treasures had already flown out from the protective array and were heading towards Mara's army to kill. Roars rang out one after another as assorted magic treasures and magic artifacts flew out from the densely packed Demon Luo army to block the attacks from the cultivators on Spirit Convergence Island. Dazzling lights of various colors burst out in the sky like fireworks, and even the world seemed to change color because of it. Seeing that Mara's army was about to crash into them, the Laozus, including Lu Ping's, all had serious expressions on their faces. They took out their treasures and spirit treasures, preparing to meet the attack of Mara's army. However, at this moment, a low roar sounded from within the ranks of Mara's army. At the same time, it reached the ears of the various sex cultivators on Spirit Gathering Island. The protective shield of the island began to rumble. It was like the surface of water being blown by a strong wind, rippling and rippling. The heavenly demon was even more powerful than the jade demon. It was a heavenly demon equivalent to a late Dharma adept. There was actually a heavenly demon here. Previously, the two sides in Phantom City had been in a stalemate for several months, and there had been many battles. Azura's silhouette had been seen many times. The great sects and demon tribes had all fought with Azura, but the heavenly demon had never appeared. The various sects Laozus had a bad feeling. Although the protective shield of the island was blocking the sound waves, when the sound waves reached them, Lu Ping flung out the cloud sail. It transformed into a huge cloud sail in the sky, covering the top of Jinling's camp. The various sects Laozus also tried their best to prevent the sound waves from harming the cultivators of their sections. However, they obviously did not have a spirit treasure like the cloud sail that was specially designed to defend against sound waves or spiritual attacks. It could not protect their disciples on a large scale. Many blood condensation disciples with lower levels of cultivation died on the spot with black blood flowing out of their mouths and ears. Most of the blood condensation disciples fainted. Even some of the core forging disciples felt dizzy. Their bodies swayed in midair, and those who were not strong enough fell from the sky towards the island like dumplings. Their faces were bruised and swollen. Tian Kang's Laozu shouted, "Disciples of all sects, gather towards Jinling!" The various sects Laozus also came to their senses. Before they could express their gratitude to Jinling, they all ordered their disciples to gather under the cloud sail. Jinling's camp also began to shrink, trying its best to cover as much of the area under the cloud sail as possible. However, the heavenly demon's roar did not last for long. Only a few cultivators from the sects closest to Jinling's sect managed to hide under the cover of the cloud sails. Most of the cultivators were moving towards Jinling's sect's camp when the heavenly demon's roar came to an abrupt stop. It changed direction. It changed direction. The Mara's army changed direction. They are not coming for Soul Gathering Island. After the heavenly devil's roar stopped, the huge Mara's army began to change direction in midair like a slow-moving giant. Then, it slowly circled around Soul Gathering Island and headed towards the north of the island. They are indeed coming for Soul Gathering Island. At this time, Even the 10 or so Dharma adepts in the sky, including Lu Ping, knew that even if the Mara's army was coming for Soul Gathering Island, they would not be able to break through the protective array of the island in a short period of time. However, they could not help but feel relieved. Even the heavenly devil had appeared. How many Asuras would there be in the Mara's army? Other than that, how many more Jade Shura, Jade Demons, and Blood Mara were hidden among them? More than 10? Dozens? More than 100? Just thinking about this made the Dharma adepts of Laozu's scalp go numb. Now, if they weren't here for the Spirit Gathering Island, then where were they going? To the north of Soul Gathering Island, there was another large spirit stone mine occupied by human cultivators, Yuanling Island. Chapter 1046. Yuanling Island. Could it be that Mara's army was heading towards Yuanling Island? Everyone's emotions, which had just calmed down, tensed up again. However, even if they were heading towards Yuanling Island, they would not be as nervous as before. After all, it was not Spirit Gathering Island that was being attacked, even though they knew that Yuanling Island and Spirit Gathering Island were interdependent. The cloud sail turned back into a small banner, and was kept by Lu Ping. The practitioners from the various sects who had been allowed to enter the area covered by the cloud sail all expressed their gratitude to Junling. Even a few Dharma adepts also expressed their gratitude to Tiankong Laozu. The few of them exchanged pleasantries at the side before moving on to discuss other matters. Although Lu Ping was also a Dharma adept, he did not have the mood to fight with these elders. He left Tiankong Laozu behind and headed towards the island. At this moment, hundreds of streaks of light flew over from the direction of Phantom City. It was obvious that when Mara's army had appeared, the reinforcements that had been sent out from Spirit Gathering Island had summoned the practitioners from both the human and demon clans from Phantom City. 3 figures had appeared on Spirit Gathering Island earlier. The few Laozu, who had been exchanging pleasantries, hurried forward to greet them. Lu Ping's divine will could clearly sense that these 3 people had an aura that was as deep as the sea. It was obvious that they were 3 Dharma adepts. When the 3 Laozus saw that Spirit Gathering Island did not seem to have been affected by Mara's attack, their faces darkened. The white-browed, black-haired elder among them said unhappily, "What's going on? Didn't they say that Mara's army is heading towards Spirit Gathering Island?" Ever since the Yulin sect had been tricked by the various human and demon factions in Phantom City and suffered a loss, losing 2 early Dharma adepts, Kuan Yu Laozu, who had been lucky enough to escape, had often used recuperation as an excuse and rarely participated in anything that happened in Phantom City. Seeing that this great cultivator wanted to ask, Kuan Yu Laozu hid to the side, not saying a word. The second-ranked EC Hidden Fog sect's middle Dharma manifestation cultivator, Boulder Laozu, cupped his hands together and smiled. "I'm sorry to conceal this from fellow Taoist Yuanfu, but just now there was indeed a large number of Mara coming from the direction of Fantasy Spirit City. But just as the Mara army was about to attack, they suddenly turned around Spirit Gathering Island and headed in the direction of Origin Spirit Island." "What? Yuanling Island?" The white-browed and black-haired Yuan Fu Laozu frowned. "That's right. Originally, we also thought that there would be a fierce battle, but to our surprise, there was a heavenly devil hidden in the Devil Luo army." He commanded the Devil Luo army to bypass the Soul Gathering Island and head north. Boulder Laozu added, "A demon?" When these words came out of Boulder Laozu's mouth, it immediately tickled the sensitive nerves of the 3 great cultivators. "Are you sure that was a demon? Mara's army has besieged Phantom City for several months, but no demon has ever appeared." Yuan Fu Laozu looked at the Dharma adept on the right, who had asked the question first. But this great cultivator's body was surging with demonic aura, and he completely ignored Yuan Fu Laozu's stare. Boulder Laozu said in a low voice, "It was definitely a demon." At that time, the old man was not the only one present. "You can ask the others." The demon clan great cultivator nodded and said no more. At this time, a great cultivator on the left of Yuan Fu Laozu said, "In that case, let's not delay any further. Let's go straight to Yuanling Island." Let's hope that Mara's army is also not heading for Yuanling Island. The three great cultivators disappeared in the blink of an eye. In the distance, the hundreds of flowing lights that were only tens of miles away from Spirit Gathering Island seemed to have received some kind of message. They turned around in the sky and flew towards the north. Before these hundreds of flowing lights disappeared in the sky, there was already a rumbling sound coming from the north. Strong waves of spiritual chi were transmitted all the way to Spirit Gathering Island, and the entire sea was shaking violently. It seemed that the battle on Yuanling Island had stirred up a strong tsunami that affected the island. Lu Ping looked at Tian Kong Laozu and said, "Granduncle, your disciple is going to Yuanling Island to take a look." Tian Kong Laozu was stunned. He naturally knew what Lu Ping was going to do there, so he said, "There are too many people there." Lu Ping nodded and said, "Your disciple understands. I will be careful." Lu Ping was going to Yuanling Island this time for Jiangxi. At this time, Yuanling Island would definitely be in a chaotic battle. If a mid-Dharma adept was accidentally dragged into Mara's army at this time and went missing, it would not cause too much of a stir. Of course, even though the various sects had sunk into a chaotic battle, it was just as old ancestor Tian Khan had said, the more people there were, the more eyes there would be. Maybe in some inconspicuous corner, there was a pair of eyes that just happened to be staring at you. Therefore, Lu Ping didn't have the confidence to kill Jiangxi. Lu Ping had already used the deception technique to change his appearance along the way. He put on the demon transformation bracelet on his wrist again and cultivated his Dharma power. Lu Jiu reappeared in the 5 Phantom Islands. At this time, Phantom City was already a chaotic place. Other than the Crystal Palace, the 9 main sects, the 25 mid-sized sects, and the 3 main demon tribes, there were also 12 demon tribes affiliated to the demon tribe, as well as various human, demon, and individual practitioners scattered throughout the fallen secret territory. Among them, there were many Dharma adepts mixed in. The addition of Lu Jiu, an early Dharma adept, did not attract too much attention. Yuanling Island was in a state of chaos when Mara's army first attacked. Other than a dozen Dharma adepts and a small number of core forging adepts who could still calm down and rely on the island's protective formation to fight back, most of the sect's practitioners were in a state of chaos. Some of the sect's practitioners even showed signs of running away in an instant. It was not that these cultivators had no guts. It was just that the overwhelming Devil Luo army gave them too much visual impact and psychological pressure. Moreover, among these cultivators who were mixed together from the beginning, there were quite a few people who were eager to see the world in chaos. They were relying on each other's shouts and cooperation to instigate the situation on Yuanling Island to be more chaotic. However, they would never attract the attention of the people who had ill intentions. Seeing that the situation on Yuanling Island was about to spiral out of control, 3 Dharma adepts and hundreds of reinforcements from Fantasy Spirit City arrived. Seeing that Yuanling Island was in a state of chaos, the 3 great adepts flew into a rage. Regardless of which sect or sect they belonged to, they directly killed 20 to 30 core forging adepts who were leading the escape. Only then did they stop the situation from deteriorating further. Even so, at this time, Yuanling Island was still in a state of chaos. It was at this time that Lu Ping arrived on Yuanling Island. At this time, after a large number of reinforcements from Phantom City arrived, the various sects Laozu could finally divert their attention to summon the disciples from their sections. They tried to organize these disciples to fight against Mara's army's attack on the island's protective formation and restore order on the island. However, after the initial chaos, to gather these disciples one by one was not something that could be done in a short period of time. Lu Ping wandered in the sky above Yuanling Island, the thin water-flowing sword flying out of the island's protective formation. As he blocked the attack of Mara's army, he split his attention to look at the surrounding practitioners. After a while, he finally saw Dongyun Laozu, who was loudly calling for his sect's disciples to gather. Compared to the chaos of the other sects, the Tsunghai sect's disciples seemed to be even more scattered. Although Dongyun Laozu tried his best to summon them, only a few of his sect's disciples gathered here. At this time, the order on Yuanling Island had gradually been restored, but the Tsunghai sect did not seem to be improving at all. It was inevitable that they would be looked down upon by the practitioners from the other sections. However, after Lu Ping wandered around Yuanling Island, he still did not find any trace of Zhang Shi. Lu Ping was confident that with his current ability to transform and the help of the demon transformation bracelet, even great adepts would not be able to detect his identity. Then, Zhang Shi naturally did not hide because of his arrival. Then, where did Zhang Shi go? At this time, Yuanling Island was in chaos. The news should have already spread throughout the 5 islands. Dongyun Laozu had no way of effectively organizing his sect's disciples. Even if Zhang Shi was not on Yuanling Island at this time, he should have rushed back. There was absolutely no reason for him not to appear now. Reinforcements from both the human and demon clans continued to rush towards Yuanling Island. In an instant, the number of Dharma adepts had reached close to 100, and the number of other adepts was even more uncountable. Although the scene was no longer chaotic, it became more and more complicated. Unless it was someone like Lu Ping who had specially rushed over to find one person, no one would notice the strange disappearance of a Dharma adept. Lu Ping's intuition told him that there must be some hidden secret. Otherwise, under such a serious situation, there was no reason for Zhang Shi not to appear. This chaotic battle on Yuanling Island lasted until nightfall. The slow retreat of Mara's army finally came to a temporary halt. The originally scattered adepts of the various sects all gathered around their own Dharma adepts, Laozu. At this time, there were close to 1,000 more adepts on Yuanling Island, and the camps previously occupied by the various sects had long been disrupted. There were also many solitary adepts like Lu Ping. Thus, Lu Ping did not need to worry that anyone would notice him. After searching for the Blue Sea sect's gathering spot, Lu Ping suddenly discovered that Zhang Shi was actually among them. When did he return? Lu Ping was confident that he had not found any trace of Zhang Shi during the battle on Yuanling Island. Now that he had appeared so strangely, where had he gone? Lu Ping pretended that nothing had happened as he passed by the Blue Sea sect's gathering spot. However, he frowned slightly. When Yuanling Island had descended into chaos, Dongyun Laozu had not even been able to gather all his disciples. Now, however, all 50 to 60 Blue Sea sect disciples had been gathered together. Thinking back to the information Lu Ping had received before, the Blue Sea sect had only sent 40 to 50 cultivators to Phantom Island. In other words, the Blue Sea sect, who had not even gathered all their disciples in the previous chaotic battle, had not lost a single one. Moreover, when Lu Ping looked from afar, he saw that the group of cultivators all had calm expressions. They were far from the excitement and agitation of the other sects after a great battle, and formed a sharp contrast with the clamorous disciples of the various sections. If the Blue Sea sect's cultivators were all so calm, then why had they been like headless flies earlier? They could not even find Laozu's position? Unless they had done it on purpose. A bold thought flashed through Lu Ping's mind, one that shocked even himself. Chapter 1047. The Tsunghai sect had done everything very cleverly. Unless it was someone like Lu Ping who had specifically come to find trouble with Zhang Shi, no one would have noticed that the Tsunghai sect had revealed such strangeness on the chaotic Yuanling Island. The next day, at dawn, there was a deep roar from the sea outside Yuanling Island. Mara's army once again approached Yuanling Island, and another battle was about to break out. Although the various sects listened to the orders of the 3 Dharma adepts, they were still clinging tightly to the small groups of their own sects and never separated. The 3 Dharma adepts were also helpless and could only assign tasks to each sect. However, it was impossible to take a portion of the cultivators from one of the sects as reinforcements, backups, or reinforcements. These sects were acting as a whole. Lu Ping's current identity was that of a Dharma adept who was not affiliated, so he had more freedom on Yuanling Island. The core forging adepts who were not affiliated were not so lucky. They had long been taken in by the 3 Dharma adepts and assigned to various tasks. However, just as Lu Ping watched the entire Tsunghai sect begin to move, he suddenly realized that other than Dongyun Laozu, Zhang Shi had disappeared again. How was this possible? Lu Ping frowned. He had been secretly monitoring the Shanghai sect's space all night, but he had not discovered anyone secretly leaving. Lu Ping was very confident in his divine will and did not think that Zhang Shi could avoid his senses and leave. So how did Zhang Shi disappear in front of him? Lu Ping took advantage of the time when the Shanghai sect's large group of adepts left to sneak into the base, which was guarded by a few disciples of the Shanghai sect. Although there were core forging adepts among these disciples, and there were many warning and defense mechanisms in the base, they were not enough for Lu Ping. The base was on a gentle slope. To the west was a puddle, or rather a small lake, to the east was a rocky field, to the north was a forest, and to the south was the sea. In the center of the base was a mine that the Shanghai sect was responsible for guarding. This mine was one of the entrances to the Spirit Stone mine on Yuanling Island. Currently, the Shanghai sect was responsible for guarding it. This was also why the sect had set up their base here. The Spirit Stone mine on Yuanling Island was different from the one on Frost Island. The Spirit Stone mine on Frost Island used the mine in the center as the entrance, and after going deep underground, it split into 8 branches that went deep underground. On the other hand, the Spirit Stone mine on Yuanling Island was the opposite. It was a main vein that stretched out from underground, and then split into 10 branches that led to the surface. Each branch had a mine on the surface of Yuanling Island. The entrance to the mine had been completely sealed at this time. The formation used to seal the entrance was provided by the 15 sects on Yuanling Island. Not only did the formation seal the entrance, it also covered the ground near the entrance. There were 8 entrances to Yuanling Island, and the 8 formations were connected to each other, covering the entire surface of Yuanling Island under the formation. Even if someone wanted to open a new mine on Yuanling Island, they would not be able to. Every time a mine was opened, cultivators from each of the 15 sects would have to use their unique secret techniques in order to open it. Otherwise, even a great cultivator would not be able to open a mine or create a new mine without alerting the cultivators from the other sections. Lu Ping first eliminated the possibility of a mine, but no matter if it was the bottom of the lake, the forest, the sea, or even the stone forest, he never found anything out of place. Lu Ping thought for a moment, and then his eyes immediately shone with blue light. Carrying a thread of golden light that had yet to be completely refined, Lu Ping's eyes suddenly shot out blue light that was almost a foot long. They looked like 2 solid blue long swords. The blue light in Lu Ping's eyes immediately withdrew, and he walked towards a stone pillar on the left of the mine entrance. After examining the stone pillar for a long time, Lu Ping's eyes occasionally flashed with blue light. Finally, Lu Ping's expression turned joyful and he said, "It's here!" He reached out and touched the stone pillar carefully, then he dug with his hand. A small stone that looked the same material as the stone pillar appeared in Lu Ping's hand. Lu Ping immediately condensed a ball of bluish-purple light in his hand. As the stone was immersed in the true essence, its color faded, revealing a crystal-clear gemstone underneath. Hollow essence, it really is this kind of thing. Shanghai sect actually has such luck to be able to get such a treasure of heaven and earth. This means that Zhang Shi is very likely to be in the mine at this time, so this Zhang Shi must be going for the spirit stone in the mine. Stealing the spirit stone of the mining vein, if I expose this, even if this Shanghai sect is not exterminated, I'm afraid they will be expelled from Yuanling Island, and they will never be qualified to return to Phantom Island. Lu Ping held this piece of hollow essence in his hand and admired it for a moment. He suddenly thought of something and thought, "No! Even if there is hollow essence in hand, with the level of Shanghai sect, how did they know to bypass the cave ceiling array and set up a teleportation array to the mine? This is a secret technique inheritance that only the formation masters of the Kongming sect knew." Lu Ping activated the 3 pure true pupils again and looked at the Space Ming essence in his hand. The green light that shot out from his eyes engulfed the Space Ming essence completely. This time, Lu Ping finally saw faint runes on the surface of the Space Ming essence, forming a miniature array formation. If it wasn't a teleportation array formation, what else could it be? Kongming sect. This Tsamhai sect actually obtained the legacy of Kongming sect. This Kongming sect was also a famous medium-sized sect in the South Sea. It was one of the 25 medium-sized sects in the South Sea. Their share of spirit stones was obtained from Yuanling Island. This Kongming sect was famous for its formations. The entire sect was made up of formation masters who specialized in formations. For many years, cultivators of the Kongming sect participated in the mountain guarding array of the sects in the South Sea. Even the island guarding array of the Phantom Spirit 5 Islands had formation masters from the Kongming sect. If it wasn't for the fact that formation masters were too rare and the requirements for cultivators were as strict as pill concoction and weapon forging, with the influence of Kongming sect in the South Sea, they could have been promoted to the level of a large sect. As the saying goes, greed is insatiable. In the past, the cultivator of Kongming sect who was ordered to guard Yuanling Island was also a Dharma idol. Moreover, he was also a formation master. Faced with the temptation of the spirit stone vein on Yuanling Island, or because he wanted to challenge the formation seals of the caves of the 15 sects, this Laozu devoted himself to research. He actually used the secret carving technique of Kongming sect to arrange a miniature teleportation array on the hollow essence. Then, he arranged a secret teleportation array in the mine of the spirit stone vein by taking advantage of the opportunity of entering the mine to mine spirit stones normally. There were 8 main mines on Yuanling Island, and this Laozu arranged a secret teleportation array in 7 of them. This way, every time the spirit stone vein on Yuanling Island entered a period of rest, this Laozu would use the teleportation array to secretly enter the mine and mine spirit stones without restraint. Originally, this Laozu wanted to arrange a teleportation array in all 8 mines. However, it was a pity that this Laozu did not do things discreetly and was too greedy. The traces of him mining spirit stones without restraint were too obvious. Very quickly, this alerted the other sects on Yuanling Island, and then alerted the Crystal Palace and the various sects at that time. With the cooperation of the various sects, they very quickly caught the Kongming sect formation master who was about to arrange a teleportation array in the 8th mine. After that, according to this Laozu's confession, the various sects consecutively removed the secret teleportation arrays that they had set in the other mines. The hollow essence that had been used as a transfer channel was also destroyed. Originally, this matter could have come to an end. At most, they would have just killed this Dharma adept and expelled the Kongming sect from the 5 islands of illusionary spirits. However, the various sects did not stop there. Instead, they continued to gather people and went all the way to the Kongming Sea in the South Sea. They completely destroyed the Kongming sect that was located there. This matter caused a huge uproar in the overseas training world. The Kongming sect was indeed a large formation sect. Although its strength was only considered a medium-sized sect, with its endless number of strange formations, the cultivators of the various sects still paid a heavy price in the war. After the war, the sects that had invited the Kongming sect to help arrange the protective formation all claimed that the Kongming sect had bad intentions. They had left huge loopholes in the formations that they had arranged for them. Even the protective formation of the 5 islands of illusionary spirits had a huge flaw. Once the various sects were faced with danger, they would definitely be controlled by the Kongming sect. Although this reason was convincing enough, at that time, there were still many different speculations in the world of training. There were rumors that the Kongming sect had used the loopholes in the formations to sneak into the sects several times and steal many treasures. However, the sects did not know about this until the incident at the Yuanling Island mine. The Kongming sect's formation master who had been captured had confessed everything in order to save his life. Only then did the various sects realize that the Kongming sect was behind all this. There were also speculations that the various sects were actually copying the Kongming sect's divine will sculpting technique. This was the unique secret technique of the Kongming sect's formation masters in the world of training. It was also the foundation of many of the Kongming sect's formations. Unfortunately, after the Kongming sect had been destroyed, this secret technique had never appeared again. In short, the reason for the Kongming sect's destruction became a big mystery in the world of training. There were many speculations about the reason for the Kongming sect's destruction. The various sects that participated in the destruction all kept their mouths shut after the incident. They only claimed that they had been threatened by the Kongming sect and had attacked the Kongming sect in order to eliminate the hidden danger. Lu Ping did not expect the Songhai sect to be able to obtain a Kongming essence carved with the so-called teleportation formation. Hadn't the 8 miniature teleportation formations made by the Kongming sect's formation master stationed on Yuanling Island been destroyed by the various sects? Where did the Songhai sect get this one? Although the sects usually took turns to guard these mines, they would also check on each other. The Songhai sect had no chance to enter the mines to steal spirit stones. This was also a rule set after the Kongming sect's incident. The only time that Songhai sect had a chance to do this was when the other sects were busy resisting the attack of Mara's army on Yuanling Island. This was too much of a coincidence. But this was the strange thing. The secret teleportation formation was definitely not set up overnight. Even if the Songhai sect had planned this, how did they know that Mara's army would suddenly besiege Yuanling Island at this time? This was too much of a coincidence. For a moment, Lu Ping felt that the whole thing was complicated and strange. Lu Ping felt as if he had unknowingly stepped into a trap set up by others. Chapter 1048. The space stone was an essential item used by practitioners to create storage instruments. In the world of practice, it was already considered a rare treasure. The space stone essence was the essence of the space stone that had been condensed. Only those who were at the level of a master craftsman would be able to complete the process of condensing it, and the space stone essence was a necessary item to create a secret treasure. Although this small piece of space stone essence was not enough to create a secret treasure, it was still very valuable. At this time, Lu Ping could already confirm that this Zhang Shi had sneaked into the mine to steal spirit stones. Lu Ping thought about it, and decided to take this piece of space stone essence with him, trapping Zhang Shi in the mine and waiting for the Songhai sect to be exposed. Then, Jinling could strike when he was down. In a secret room in Phantom City, the 2 Dharma adepts who had been pursued by Lu Ping were inside. "Young master, we have found out that the Songhai sect is currently stationed at the number 8 mine on Yuanling Island," the mid-Dharma adept reported respectfully to the adept in front of him. "Good!" The young master clapped his hands and smiled. "This Zhang Shi really has some tricks up his sleeve. It seems that he has seized the opportunity. Perhaps he has already sneaked into the mine on Yuanling Island and begun to excavate spirit stones. Young lord is wise. This subordinate has also participated in the battle against Devil Luo's army on Yuanling Island in the past few days. Indeed, I did not see that Zhang Shi appear. However, every time Devil Luo's offensive stopped and the cultivators of the various sects returned to their encampments, Zhang Shi would appear again. Speaking of which, this Songhai sect is really lucky. They were even able to obtain the space stone essence left behind by Kan Wu Laozu. Sir, according to your estimation, how long will it take for the protective matrix of the entire Phantom 5 Islands to be affected?" The young master sighed and turned to ask the adept. The cultivator pondered for a moment before saying, "If the protective formation of the 5 islands is really as the young master said, and has a lot to do with the spirit stone veins of the 5 islands, then according to this old servant's estimation, the protective formation of the 5 islands will be affected by the loss of balance between the 5 spirit stone veins in 5 to 3 days at most." The friar paused and added, "Of course, it also depends on how crazy Zhang Shi is in mining the spirit stones in the veins. If Zhang Shi is more crazy about mining, the imbalance between the 5 spirit stone veins will become more serious, and the protection formation will be weakened even more, but—" The young master was stunned and said, "But what is it? Mister, please tell me." The mister nodded and continued, "But once the 5 spirit stone veins are out of balance, I'm afraid that the Crystal Palace and the 9 sects will immediately notice it. Once they notice it early, maybe they will quickly take remedial measures. At that time, we will have less manpower after all." The young master had already understood a little of the mister's meaning. After a moment of silence, he suddenly smiled and said, "Well, I just want to kill as much as possible. As long as Mara's army can take the opportunity to break through the protective formation and slaughter in the 5 Phantom Islands, even if the 5 Phantom Islands are eventually guarded by the human and demon clans, the purpose of this trip to the East Sea will be achieved." The Mister was about to leave after reporting the matter, but he suddenly wanted to say something, but he was a little hesitant for a moment. A glimmer of light flashed in the young master's eyes, and he said, "Mister, do you have anything else to say? There is no need to be so polite between us." "Yes." The Mister was still respectful and said, "The Kongming sect was famous for its array skills. Although it was only a medium-sized sect, its achievements in array skills had indeed reached the peak. There were 6 Dharma adepts in the sect, and 4 of them were array grandmasters. In the entire sect, there were as many as 8 array grandmasters." The young master frowned and said, "Mister, what do you mean?" "It is rumored that the Kongming sect set up a shocking array in the Kongming Sea to protect the sect. The key to unlocking this array chain is the 32 Kongming essences, which are controlled by 4 Dharma adepts. Kanwu Laozu, who was stationed on Yuanling Island and stole the Spirit Stone Mine, was one of them. The Kongming essence that the Kongming Sea sect obtained may have been left behind by Kanwu Laozu. Young master, don't you want to?" The young master suddenly understood and smiled. "I know that you are obsessed with array skills and are one of the rare array grandmasters in the world. However, you may not know this. Although the Kongming sect was famous for its array skills, and the sects of the East Sea attacked the Kongming Sea in the past, even though they did not find all 32 Kongming essences in the end, under the powerful attacks of Laozu, no matter how exquisite the array was, it would still crumble. Today, although the Kongming Sea is still shrouded in broken array restrictions and has become a dangerous place in the South Sea, the heritage of the Kongming sect has long been plundered by the sects of the East Sea." The young master was still a little unwilling. "Perhaps there are still some array secrets that have not been discovered." The young master smiled and said, "Perhaps. Since Mr. insists on making a trip to the South Sea, then I'll take the space essence from Jiangxi once the matter here is settled. However, Mr. shouldn't hold too much hope." It seems that she died a little too early. This person's poison technique against the poison azure might save us a lot of trouble by fighting poison with poison. Yuan Chong Laozu and the other Laozu kept quiet. This Laozu also knew that what he said was useless, so he laughed at himself. After a while, it was Laozu on the left who said, "Back then, I wanted to open the sky wall of myriad poisons. For this, I did not hesitate to destroy the Hollow Nether sect and obtain 24 Hollow Nether essences. In the end, although the sky wall of myriad poisons would weaken every once in a while, I did not expect it to become a secret place for the poison azure to nourish." Laozu on the right retorted, "You can't say that. At least ever since the sky wall of myriad poisons was opened, every time the sky wall of myriad poisons weakens, cultivators from various sects would enter en masse and reap great rewards every time." Yuan Chong Laozu suddenly said, "Let's wait and see. Now that the 3 realms have fallen into Mara's calamity, the fallen secret land is like an isolated island. Without outside help, we can only rely on us to resist. We cannot cause more trouble before the enemy. After Tree's death, the Northern Alliance still has some strength in Phantom City, but we need to appease them." Lu Ping weighed the pros and cons, but in the end, he did not take the Hollow Nether essence away. After restoring the Hollow Nether essence to its original color, Lu Ping returned it to its original position on the stone pillar. He himself went to the forest in the north of Songhai Sect's encampment and disappeared. In the evening, Mara's army retreated again. Dense streams of light began to descend from the sky above Yuanling Island. The exhausted cultivators from various sects did not even have the energy to make a ruckus. After returning to their encampment, they began to recover their vital energy. After Dongyun Laozu returned to the encampment with the Songhai sect's cultivators, Lu Ping could see that his expression was very ugly. The Songhai sect had originally sent 40 to 50 cultivators to the Phantom 5 Islands this time, but after 2 days of battle, They had lost 4 or 5 people, and more than a dozen people were injured. After Dongyun Laozu arranged for his disciples, he walked towards the rocky area in the east as if nothing had happened, as if he was taking a casual stroll. After a while, when Dongyun Laozu returned from the rocky area, there was Zhang Shi behind him. From a distance, it seemed that the two had been discussing some secret matter in the rocky area. However, what the two did not know was that in the forest only 1,000 feet away from them, there was already a pair of eyes watching them. With a flick of his hand, Lu Ping took out a stone armor from his interspatial mystic instrument. This stone armor was made from 2 strange stones that could block out a cultivator's divine sense. The 2 stones in front of him were made from the same material as the stone armor. The 2 stones in front of him were made from the same material as the stone armor. The Crystal Palace cultivator who discovered the medium-sized spirit stone mine on the unnamed island had concluded that the spirit stone mine on the unnamed island was a branch of the spirit stone mine on the 5 Phantom Islands. From the fact that both of them had such strange stones, it seemed that the mine prospector from the Crystal Palace was right. Lu Ping walked to the 2 boulders, and indeed, in the gap between the 2 boulders, he found a teleporter that was directly engraved on the boulder. Lu Ping thought for a while, then he inlaid a few spirit stones on the teleporter, and then he made a gesture to activate the teleporter. At the same time, he shouted softly, "Explode!" A few spirit stones suddenly burst out with dense spiritual energy, and the teleportation array formation was activated. Lu Ping disappeared in a flash of white light. The spirit stones embedded in the array formation also turned into spiritual energy due to Lu Ping's spirit explosion art. Not a single trace of spiritual energy was left behind. Because there were some scattered spirit stones, the mine didn't look dark. Because the entire Yuanling Island was under the seal of the array, at this time, there were a few runes flashing on the walls of the mine. These runes were the extension of the seal array, and the seal array was connected to the pulse suppression spirit lock grade array, so that the entire spirit stone mine had double insurance. Even if one broke through the seal array on the surface, under the protection of the pulse suppression spirit lock grade array, one would not be able to enter the mine. At this moment, a wall in the quiet mine suddenly shone with white light, and golden runes appeared on the wall. These runes were all the runes of the pulse suppression spirit lock grade array. Some of these runes shone brightly, while others dimmed. However, they did not disappear. The runes that shone brightly formed the outline of a teleportation array disk. It was as if a teleportation array disk had been naturally embedded into the vein suppression spirit lock array disk. The white light faded, and a young man in his 20s appeared in the mine. Lu Ping looked around, but only his breathing could be heard in the quiet cave. He sensed something with his divine sense, so he turned around and saw the runes on the walls dimming and returning to the pulse suppression spirit shackle array formation. There wasn't the slightest trace of abnormality. Lu Ping glanced around and saw that the runes on the walls had dimmed and returned to the pulse suppression spirit shackle array formation. Lu Ping couldn't help but sigh in admiration at this method. To hide the runes of the teleporter within the runes of the pulse suppression spirit lock grade array, or to say that these runes were originally part of the pulse suppression spirit lock grade array. Under the wondrous methods of Kong Wu Laozu, these runes were responsible for the normal operation of the pulse suppression spirit lock grade array. Once the teleporter was activated, these runes would immediately gather to form a brand new teleporter, and at the same time, they would be responsible for the operation of the pulse suppression spirit lock grade array. This way, no one would be able to discover that someone had already touched the array and infiltrated the mine. It was simply a marvelous technique. No wonder people said that the Kong Ming sect's research on arrays had reached the pinnacle. Just this teleporter was enough to explain everything. Lu Ping immediately thought of the other person who had been monitoring Zhang Shi and Dongyun Laozu. This person had also used the Yuanling Island seal to hide his tracks, and the method was similar to this teleporter. However, the level of this teleporter was far inferior, and could not be compared to this teleporter. Could it be that this person was also related to the Kongming sect? However, the Kongming sect had been destroyed for thousands of years, and its inheritance had also been severed. Could it be that this person was fortunate enough to obtain some of the inheritance left behind by the Kongming sect? Lu Ping waved his hand in front of him, and the spatial door of the golden house suddenly opened. A huge and fat Laozi fell out of the door, and landed on the ground, raising a cloud of dust. Lu Ping fanned the dust with his hand, and said, "It's all up to you now. I only want the best grade spirit stones." De Bao appeared in the mine, and immediately revealed an intoxicated expression. He heard Lu Ping's words and said, "Don't worry, big brother. This time, you will make a lot of money." De Bao's nose twitched, and he sniffed left and right of the mine. Then, he turned around, and ran towards the mine on the left. His fat body had already covered all four of his limbs, and one could only see a meatball wriggling as it moved forward quickly. "Remember, don't leave any traces that are too obvious, and don't touch the runes of the arrays on the walls of the mine. Don't worry!" Without turning his head back, De Bao disappeared into the depths of the mine. Lu Ping didn't continue to explore the mine. Instead, he turned around, and focused all his attention on the wall once again. He carefully used his spirit sense to scan the wall for a long time, but he didn't discover anything. Just when Lu Ping had come out of the teleportation array, and the runes on the array board behind him hadn't extinguished yet, Lu Ping's keen spirit sense seemed to have discovered something. And when these runes had extinguished and returned to the original array board, the trace of abnormality that had attracted the attention of Lu Ping's spirit sense disappeared in an instant. Lu Ping thought for a moment, and the cyan light in his eyes shone brightly. The 3 pure true pupils was pushed to the limit by Lu Ping. The trace of gold that was hidden in the cyan light that hadn't been refined gradually began to melt. The cyan light suddenly shot out more than a foot, and directly entered the runes on the wall. After a moment, the cyan light in Lu Ping's eyes disappeared. Lu Ping fiercely took 2 breaths, and tightly closed his eyes. A bluish-purple light flowed on his eyelids. It seemed that the 3 pure true pupils had caused a great burden on Lu Ping's eyes, and at this moment, he was using his qi to nourish and restore them. When the bluish-purple light dissipated, Lu Ping reluctantly opened his eyes. He could see that Lu Ping's eyes were a little dim, and there were obvious dark circles around them. However, Lu Ping's face still showed an expression of understanding. Then, he rummaged through the storage magic tool, and took out a talisman that was shining with a 5-colored halo. It was a 5-colored restriction-breaking talisman. Lu Ping came into contact with talismans very early, but his talent in it was far inferior to his talent in alchemy. However, it was still much better than his talent in refining tools. At least after unremitting efforts, Lu Ping finally made a 5-colored restriction-breaking talisman in 3 to 4 months after entering the spirit-gathering island. However, the success rate was extremely low, and for this reason, he wasted a lot of rare talisman materials. This was also because of Lu Ping. If it was replaced by other cultivators, they would not have so much wealth for him to squander like this. It could be said that Lu Ping's achievement in making restriction-breaking talismans was completely piled up by a large number of high-grade talisman papers. Lu Ping injected his qi into the 5-colored restriction-breaking talisman, and a 5-colored light suddenly soared. Lu Ping slapped the talisman in his hand toward the wall, and with a pa sound, the 5-colored light suddenly integrated into the talisman pattern. After the 5-colored light dissipated, a white space portal suddenly appeared on the wall. Lu Ping showed an expression of sure, and then he plunged into the white space portal, and the white space portal immediately disappeared. Hee, sure enough, it really is Komwa's treasure. Chapter 1050. Lu Ping was currently standing in the middle of a stone cave. Behind him was a rune wall, and behind the wall was the tunnel leading to the mine. Lu Ping could clearly see everything in the mine, but if a person was in the mine, they would not be able to see through the rune wall. Unexpectedly, there was a secret chamber behind the rune wall. When the rune wall touched his hand, It was as if it was solid. If Lu Ping's divine will was far stronger than others, he would not have felt the abnormality the moment the array teleported. Fortunately, the 3 pure true eyes had just been upgraded by 1 level, allowing Lu Ping to catch a trace of it. Otherwise, Lu Ping would not have dared to use the 5-colored restriction-breaking talisman to break through the rune wall. Lu Ping turned around and looked at the secret chamber behind him. On a stone table, there were 7 crystal-clear stones the size of a thumb. It's actually another Kongming essence. According to legend, the Kongming sect's protective array was extremely complicated. It was the result of the efforts of generations of Kongming sect's array masters. The cultivators of the Kongming sect created 32 Kongming essences to open the array. At that time, there were 4 Dharma Realm array masters of the Kongming sect, and Kan Wu Laozu was one of them. There were 7 Kongming essences here, and in addition to the one on the stone pillar, there were exactly 8 Kongming essences. Could it be that these were the 8 keys that Kan Wu Laozu controlled to open the Kongming sect's protective array? Among the 7 Kongming essences, there was a jade slip left on the stone table. Lu Ping put away the 7 Kongming essences one by one, and then he used his divine will to examine the jade slip. After a long while, Lu Ping's face showed a slight surprise, but it was more of a pleasant surprise. He then carefully put the jade slip into his storage magic tool. Only then did he stand at the entrance of the secret chamber, and look into the mine through the rune wall. His left hand rubbed his chin as he thought about something. Songhai sect was originally in a period of rapid growth. Although it was not as dazzling as Jinling in the North Sea, it was an indisputable fact that the sect's strength was growing day by day. And with the rapid development of the sect, the demand for spirit stones inevitably began to increase. Just as Songhai sect was preparing to plan for more sources of spirit stones, Jinling suddenly launched an operation to suppress Songhai sect. The mixed mine was suppressed, the spirit stone mine of Frost Island was suppressed, and other small and medium-sized mines and other sources of spirit stones were also suppressed. For a time, Songhai sect's spirit stone income fell into a difficult situation. The ancestors of the Songhai sect had been worrying about the source of spiritual stones all day long. The mysterious person had complete control of the secret reincarnation technique, and had already seen through Songhai sect's plan. Songhai sect had no choice but to give in. Otherwise, Songhai sect's dream of becoming a great cultivator would probably be pushed back for another few hundred years. At that time, who knew to what extent Songhai sect would be suppressed by Jinling? In the blink of an eye, a night had passed. Lu Ping stood in front of the rune wall in the stone cave, motionless, as if he was waiting for something. Rumbling sounds came from Yuanling Island once again. Although Lu Ping was currently deep underground, the sounds of battle still rang out like muffled thunder. Mara's army had begun their attack once again. Lu Ping's spirit was roused. He opened his mouth and spat out 12 gentian beads that shone with a 5-colored light. One by one, they flew into the rune wall, and then dispersed in all directions. Then, the 5-colored light suddenly disappeared, and the 12 gentian beads disappeared as well. Lu Ping opened his right hand, and a rank 9 white jade lotus bloomed in his palm. Lu Ping also threw it towards the ground outside the rune wall. A few rune patterns flashed on the ground, and the lotus instantly melted into the ground and disappeared. After a short while, the rune patterns on the rune wall in front of Lu Ping suddenly began to move at high speed. In an instant, some of the rune patterns dimmed, while others brightened. Suddenly, a simple teleportation array disk was formed. This array disk began to spin rapidly, and a spatial whirlpool began to form in the middle of the mine. The white teleportation light immediately shone brightly. Lu Ping's eyes also lit up with 2 green rays of light. He looked towards the teleportation light. A praying mantis had unknowingly appeared on Lu Ping's shoulder. When it saw Lu Ping, it immediately jumped and fell into Lu Ping's palm. A figure suddenly appeared in the white light. Without saying anything, Lu Ping's right hand stretched out from the rune wall. It was unknown when the scissor's spirit treasure had been cut into 2, but it was already in Lu Ping's right hand. Lu Ping then used the scissors to cut the figure. Zhang Shi carefully avoided all kinds of divine senses. He arrived at the rocky mountain and activated the teleportation array. When he arrived at the mine, he immediately heaved a sigh of relief. However, at this moment, a fierce killing intent suddenly rose from behind Zhang Shi, causing all the hairs on his body to stand on end. Someone was plotting against him. How was this possible? Zhang Shi didn't have time to think about how someone would ambush him here. He already knew that he had fallen into an extremely dangerous situation. Zhang Shi pushed the protective qi out from his body with a thought. At the same time, Zhang Shi leapt forward. The Taoist robe he wore also flashed with runes that looked like starlight. However, as these protective measures were activated, Zhang Shi's heart sank even more. Amidst the crackling sounds, these protective measures were broken by the ambusher as if they were made of paper. Before Zhang Shi could move again, he felt a chill on his legs. Two blades of light crisscrossed in front of Zhang Shi. In the midst of his horrified scream, his whole body had already fallen forward. Behind him was a pair of legs that had fallen to the ground before his body. Blood sprayed out like a fountain, and then Zhang Shi, who had fallen to the ground, took the opportunity to turn around and stop the bleeding. The mantis on Lu Ping's arm waved its big blades excitedly. Lu Ping raised his eyebrows. This scissors was indeed a second disaster spirit treasure. With one blow, it could actually injure a top mid-dharma adept so easily. Who is it? Zhang Shi looked at the pair of short legs in front of him. His face was already pale. He had already summoned the blood-orange sword. As long as he turned the sword and stabbed it under his feet, under his buttocks, he would immediately be able to activate the pulse suppression spirit lock formation and summon the practitioners from the various sections. However, Zhang Shi did not dare to do so. Once he did so, not only would he die, even the ambusher might not be caught. However, the matter of the vast sea sect stealing spirit stones would definitely not be covered up. When that happened, it was very likely that the entire sect would be buried with him. Lu Ping took a step out from the rune wall. Zhang Shi's eyes instantly widened and he cried out in shock. Who are you? How did the Northern Alliance's Laozu spirit treasure scissors end up in your hands? Lu Ping snorted coldly. A sword-light whirlpool suddenly formed beside him. The seepage sword formula surrounded Lu Ping. A series of crisp sounds could be heard from inside. Countless thin needles that were hard to see with the naked eye were smashed by the sword wall and fell to the ground, forming a crystal color. Lu Tianping, you are Lu Tianping. Why are you here? Just as Zhang Shi saw the thin water-flowing sword and howled in disbelief, a lightning suddenly struck the heavily injured Zhang Shi from the sword wall. Zhang Shi, who was originally trying to escape, had a change of expression. The blood-orange sword in his hand scattered a dark light, and instantly annihilated the lightning in the mine. Zhang Shi's legs once again spurted out 2 streams of blood. He shouted loudly, "You're crazy! Aren't you afraid of causing the pulse suppression spirit lock formation to shake and summon the practitioners from the 9 sects and the Crystal Palace? By then, Vast Sea Sect and Jinling will be finished together." Lu Ping's face was cold and solemn. Without saying a word, the thin water-flowing sword circled and strangled Zhang Shi from both sides. Zhang Shi knew that he could not escape today. He did not dodge the strangling of the thin water-flowing sword. The blood-orange sword in his hand suddenly stabbed towards the ground. Obviously, he wanted to trigger the pulse suppression spirit lock formation and drag Lu Ping down with him. At this time, he could no longer care about the righteousness of the sect. Whether it was the blood-orange sword or Jiang Tianlin Lao's tree branch, the weapon spirits were very thin and weak. The weaker the weapon spirit, the lower the quality of the spiritual treasure. The second was that the spiritual treasure that was modified from a spiritual treasure would lose its ability to improve. Lu Ping didn't say anything else to the little boy. He tapped his finger on the boy's forehead and a purplish-blue light exploded on the boy's forehead, instantly covering half of his body in a purple glow. The child did not resist Lu Ping's domineering behavior at all. He let Lu Ping's essential essence start to refine him. He bowed to Lu Ping and said, "Blood Orange greets Master!" Lu Ping nodded. The child's face lit up. He picked up the blood orange sword and shot it at Lu Ping. It instantly entered Lu Ping's core space. However, it was forced out of the Dharma's auspicious cloud by the Thunder's 7 treasures calabash. Together with the thin water-flowing sword, it occupied the edge of the auspicious cloud. Lu Ping smiled slightly and thought, "This little guy's name is domineering, but he's actually a bully. He doesn't even dare to provoke a spirit-nurturing artifact like the Thunder's 7 treasures calabash." However, the Thunder's 7 treasures calabash is used to bullying the weak and fearing the strong. It's used to being arrogant. It looks like I'll have to find an opportunity to make it suffer. With the strength of the Azure Sea sect, they could have fought for the top 10 of the second class among the 25 sects in the previous great meeting of Mystic Spirit City. However, the Azure Sea sect only sent Ancestor East Cloud. Even though they managed to advance in the end, the third place of the third class was an underestimation of the Azure Sea sect's strength. Everything Blue Sea sect did, of course, was due to the fact that they had fought for a share of the Spirit Stone mine on Frost Island. But more importantly, it was probably because of this hidden teleportation formation left behind by Laozu Kanwu. Lu Ping patted Zhang Xi's storage artifact. He didn't know how much Zhang Xi had dug inside, but he didn't think he would be disappointed. His consciousness rushed into the storage artifact. Amidst the crackling noises, the seal on the surface of the storage artifact was immediately scattered by Lu Ping's consciousness. Lu Ping probed the storage mystic artifact with his divine sense and was shocked. Other than Zhang Xi's personal belongings, most of the storage mystic artifact was occupied by spirit stones that were scattered all over the place. How many spirit stones did this guy steal from the spirit stone mine in the past few days? How could he be so desperate? Not only did he steal upper-grade spirit stones, but he even stole middle and lower-grade spirit stones. Wasn't he afraid that the traces of his stealing would be easily discovered after the mine was opened? A thought flashed through Lu Ping's mind like lightning. Lu Ping was shocked again. Zhang Xi and Blue Sea sect would definitely not be so unwise. Thinking of Lu Ping's speculation about Mara's army arriving at the right time, could there be some unknown secret hidden in this? With that thought in mind, Lu Ping remembered the mysterious cultivator he discovered in the woods who was able to secretly monitor Dong Yuan and Zhang Xi using the sealing array formation on Yuanling Island. Then, he recalled the contents recorded in the jade slip left behind by Ancestor Kong Wu in the secret chamber. Suddenly, he panicked and whistled towards the depths of the mine. However, as soon as Lu Ping's whistle fell, the entire Yuanling Island suddenly began to shake. The pulse suppression spirit locking array on the walls of the mine suddenly began to operate. One after another, runes began to light up. Lu Ping secretly said, "Oh no!" At this moment, the sound of running suddenly came from the depths of the mine. A moment later, Lu Debao ran out with a head full of sweat and shouted, "Boss, it's not good. I don't know what's going on. I just dug out a top-grade spirit stone and suddenly triggered the entire pulse suppression spirit locking array. I followed your instructions and didn't touch the walls of the mine." Lu Ping was already deep in the mine. His finger quickly pointed at the flashing runes on the rune wall behind him. Every time he touched a rune, the rune would flash with even more intense light than before. "It's not your fault, it's Zhang Xi, that bastard, who stole the spirit stone mine too much, triggering the foundation of the entire 5 islands of illusionary spirit." Debao had just run to Lu Ping's side and breathed a sigh of relief. Hearing this, his eyes immediately widened and he said, "The entire 5 islands of illusionary spirit? Doesn't that mean that Mara might take the opportunity to attack?" Lu Ping did not have time to answer. Both his hands pointed at the same time, and the last 2 runes were touched. The teleportation portal was instantly formed. Lu Ping pulled Debao and said, "Quick, let's go!" On the rocky outskirts of Yuanling Island, a faint white light flashed between 2 boulders, and a young Dharma adept with a strong demonic aura suddenly appeared in the middle of the rocky outskirts. Lu Ping turned around and looked at the two strange rocks. He hesitated for a moment, but in the end, he did not destroy them. Instead, he quickly walked to the seal of the mine and dug out the empty essence from the stone pillar. At this time, the tremors of the spirit stone mine on Yuanling Island had already attracted the attention of the many Dharma adepts who were fighting with Mara in the sky above Yuanling Island. It was just that Mara's attack was too intense, and he could not spare anyone to investigate. Dong Yun Laozu naturally thought that this was because of Zhang Xi, so he would not bring people to capture his own disciple first. Thus, he did not pay attention to this. Lu Ping hid his tracks along the way, not worrying that anyone would discover him. After leaving Yuanling Island, he flew towards Phantom City. At this time, the Phantom Palace was already in a mess. 9 great adepts of both the human and demon races had gathered in the palace and were looking at a huge array board that had appeared on the ground. A few adepts who were obviously at the Dharma stage and above were either squatting or crawling on the ground, following the runes that had appeared on the array board to examine, calculate, and search for something. At this time, these Dharma adepts, who were obviously spell formation grandmasters, no longer had the aura of a grandmaster. On the contrary, under the pressure of the 9 great adepts, their foreheads were all sweating profusely. Finally, an old man dressed in a fiery red robe could not help but shout, "Have you found it yet? Where exactly is the problem?" A mid-Dharma spell formation grandmaster suddenly said happily, "I've found it. It's in the northwest direction. There's a problem with the spirit stone mine on Yuanling Island." "Yuanling Island?" the red-robed adept shouted. "What are you waiting for? Let's go to Yuanling Island." Before he could move, his sleeve was suddenly pulled by an adept beside him, who said, "Fran Chongtian, please wait." The red-robed adept was the great adept of the Fire Phoenix race, Yan Chongtian Laozu. Seeing that someone had actually dared to pull his sleeve, he suddenly turned around and was about to shout, but when he saw that it was Yuan Chong Laozu from the Crystal Palace, his expression froze, but he still said angrily, "Why are you pulling the old man? If there's a problem with the Spirit Stone mine, the protective array of the Phantom 5 Islands will be weakened. Mara's army is already attacking that place with all their might. What if the array is broken?" Without waiting for Yuan Chong Laozu to explain, a spell formation grandmaster who had been lying on the ground and calculating something had already explained. "The foundation of the array of the Phantom 5 Islands is the Spirit Stone mine, but the effect is the opposite. If there's a problem with the Phantom Island in the northwest direction, the weakening of the array should be in the southeast direction. In the southeast direction, isn't that the Qingling Island that our 3 main tribes are guarding?" The 3 great adepts of the demon clan, including Yan Chongtian, rose into the air, but before the 3 of them could leave the Phantom Palace, they heard an earth-shattering sound coming from the southeast direction of the Phantom Palace. In the southeast sky, a huge hole seemed to tear the sky apart, and countless Mara were flocking in through the hole. Chapter 1052. Lu Ping flew all the way to Phantom City. At this time, the entire Phantom City was in chaos. In the southeastern sky, there was a hole in the matrix that had been torn open. Mara's army swarmed in from it, forming a torrent. Lu Ping hurried all the way through the mystic spirit city, heading towards a secluded area. Fortunately, everyone was in a state of panic, so no one noticed his movements. Lu Ping walked to a remote area, and a thin layer of water split open on his face and dripped onto the ground. Taking off the demon transformation bracelet on his wrist, Lu Ping returned to his original appearance. Lu Ping handed Zhang Xi's storage ritual implement to Debao. At this time, Debao was frantically sorting out the spirit stones that Zhang Xi had stolen in the House of Gold. Although Lu Ping did not carefully check the number of spirit stones, a portion of it was the Tsunghai sect's share on Yuanling Island. Just like how Tiankong Laozu had given his share of Zhenling's spirit stones to Lu Ping, Zhang Xi had also taken care of the Tsunghai sect's share of spirit stones. In addition to the spirit stones that Zhang Shi had stolen from the mine, the total amount was even higher than Jinling's share. No wonder that Songhai sect had originally had the chance to enter the top 10 of the 25 sects on Yuanling Island, but they had obviously given up. With this kind of thievery, they could not even compete with the top 5 sects of the first tier, much less the 6th to 10th tier sections. Walking out of the remote alley, Lu Ping turned back and walked quickly towards the crowded area. After a while, he suddenly stopped. When he looked up, he saw 2 people looking at him from afar. A look of joy appeared on Lu Ping's face. He quickly walked over and said, "Brother Yuan, I didn't expect to meet you here." The 2 people were Yuan Feixiang and the middle Dharma servant known as Mr. Wen. Seeing that it was Lu Ping, Yuan Feixiang smiled and cupped his fists. "Brother Lu, are you going to Qingling Island as well?" Lu Ping nodded to Mr. Wen and said, "I was going to rush over as well. But I had some private matters to attend to in the Phantom City. So, the elders of the sect are urgently calling me back. I assume it's because of the rescue mission on Qingling Island. Brother Yuan, you're going ahead of me. I'm going to rush over with my fellow cultivators." Yuan Feixiang smiled and said, "That's good too. Brother Lu is the future star of your sect. The elders of your sect must first confirm Brother Lu's safety before they can be at ease." Lu Ping smiled and said, "Brother Yuan must be joking. Let's meet again in a moment." After bidding farewell to Yuan Feixiang in a hurry, Lu Ping had many doubts in his mind. But he did not have time to think about them, because Tiankong Laozu's decree was already in his hands. At this moment, 9 strong auras suddenly rose from the direction of the Phantom Hall. Then 9 rays of flowing light shot out. 2 of them turned and flew in the northwest direction, while the remaining 7 flew all the way to Qingling Island in the southeast. 9 great adepts. Lu Ping looked at the 2 rays of flowing light that were obviously flying towards Yuanling Island. He wondered if they would discover something fishy about the Blue Sea sect. On Lingling Island, when Lu Ping arrived, Tiankong Laozu was already preparing to lead a group of Zhenling disciples to Qingling Island to help. Seeing that Lu Ping had returned, Tiankong Laozu was delighted and said, "You're back just in time. The old man is preparing to go to Qingling Island. I'll leave this place to you to guard." Lu Ping looked at the disciples following Tiankong Laozu. Almost all of them were second-generation cultivators like Sage Xian Su and some third-generation disciples. Xian Yong, Xian Ling and the other outstanding cultivators of the third generation were excluded by Tiankong Laozu for some reason. So Lu Ping smiled and said, "Disciple will go with Grand Uncle Master. We can take care of each other." Tiankong Laozu refused without hesitation. "You can't go. The station on Lingling Island cannot be left unguarded. One of us must stay here." Lu Ping knew what Tiankong Laozu was thinking, but he still smiled and said, "It seems that there is only a gap on Qingling Island. The formation has not collapsed. Grand Uncle Master might have to join forces with others when you get there. Can Grand Uncle Master trust them? When the time comes, Disciple and Grand Uncle Master will have the confidence to escape even if we encounter Azura. Why do you have to be on guard against others when you work with them?" Qingling Island was the place where the 3 major tribes of the Demon Clan were stationed. Just like how the Crystal Palace and the 9 major sects occupied the only giant spirit stone mine on Phantom Island, the 3 major tribes of the Demon Clan also occupied a spirit stone mine. There was also a stone spirit island in the northeast, which was occupied by the other tribes of the East Sea Demon Clan. When Jinling and the others arrived on Qingling Island, the entire island was already in chaos. Fortunately, other than the overall defense formation of the Phantom Island, each island could also defend itself, so Mara's army did not spread to the other 4 islands after they entered the island. This was also due to the estrangement between the human and demon clans in the past. Coupled with the participation of several great cultivators from the human and demon clans, Mara's army and the human and demon clans began to fight fiercely around Qingling Island. Out of caution, Tiankong Laozu and Lu Ping did not approve of the core forging adepts of their sect forming a formation and advancing into the island. More than 20 core forging adepts of Jinling quickly formed the 3 talents 5 elements formation. The formation formed by more than 20 core forging adepts was enough to fight against 2 or 3 Dharma adepts. Under the command of immortal Xian Su, they only relied on the inner formation of Phantom Island to resist Mara's attack at the edge of Chenling Island. Lu Ping and Tiankong Laozu both rose into the air. Both of them could already see that in the sky near Yuanling Island, Yuan Chong Laozu of the Crystal Palace was already surrounded by more than 10 early and mid-Dharma adepts. Seeing Tiankong Laozu and Lu Ping arrive, Yuan Chong Laozu nodded in satisfaction and said, "Old man, I'll be straightforward. Although the situation on Qingling Island was sudden, it is far from irreversible. There were some problems on Yuanling Island, which directly caused the 5 islands' defense formation to be weakened, especially on Qingling Island. Coupled with the sudden appearance of a large number of poison Shura, the defense formation on Qingling Island was directly broken through. Poison Shura? How could such a thing appear on such a large scale?" Yuan Chong Laozu seemed to be rather displeased with the Dharma adept who had interrupted him, but under such circumstances, he did not explode on the spot. Instead, he explained, "Before this, North Sea Jinling informed Phantom Palace of the news of the appearance of poison Shura. Before this, we had already informed our fellow friends, but we did not expect the poison Shura to appear on such a large scale. However, everyone can see the hole in the southeast sky that has been broken through. The group of Shura that is guarding the hole and using their supernatural powers to continuously expand the hole are the poison Shura." Everyone turned to look in the direction that Yuan Chong Laozu had pointed out. Indeed, at the hole that had been broken through on Qingling Island, there was a group of Shura guarding the hole, not moving at all. At the same time, batches of Mara's army were continuously pouring in from outside the island. Yuan Chong Laozu's voice once again rang out in everyone's ears. He said, "Our fellow friends who have just arrived have already engaged the many blood Mara, Jade Shura, and Jade Demon who have entered Qingling Island. They will do their best to delay the important forces of Mara's army for us. Our task is to split into 2 groups and go around the battlefield from both sides. Once we enter the battlefield, we will chase this group of poison Shura away and at the same time seal the hole." Amid-Dharma Laozu could not help but ask, "With our abilities, if our fellow friends on the island are able to delay Mara's army from returning to support us, it is not impossible to rush to the hole and chase the group of poison Shura away. However, there is a hole there, and Mara's army is continuously pouring in. Once the Asuras or even the legendary heavenly demons appear, with our level of practice, even if we outnumber them, it will be difficult to seal the hole." Yuan Chong Laozu knew that if he did not dispel the doubts in these people's hearts, they would definitely not follow him and take the risk. So he said, "Everyone, don't worry. 2 great practitioners have already rushed to Yuanling Island to investigate. Once the source of the problem affecting the formation on Qingling Island is eliminated, the hole in the formation will immediately close up. As long as we chase the poison Shura away, the hole will immediately close up. Otherwise, with the poison Shura constantly suppressing the recovery of the formation and even widening the hole, not only will Mara's army be able to rush in faster, but once the Asuras and Jade Demons appear, I'm afraid we will not be able to stop them in time." At this moment, the island's protective formation of the entire 5 islands of illusory spirits let out a low rumble once again. A layer of faint light flashed on the protective shield of the formation. Yuan Chong Laozu said happily, "The danger on Yuanling Island has been eliminated. I'm counting on you all." The recovery of the formation caused a commotion among the group of black Asuras guarding the hole in the formation. Clearly, they had noticed that the formation had changed. The entire island's protective formation rippled like water. The faint light was like waves gathering towards the hole in the formation, and it was getting brighter and faster. Colorful smoke rose from the group of poisoned Shura and sprayed towards the hole in the formation. At this moment, the circle of light that had gathered the power of the entire formation in an attempt to seal the hole had also reached its peak. It emitted a blinding light and rushed towards the hole. The 2 collided. First, the hole shrank rapidly, and then it began to expand under the corrosion of the various poisonous fog. Then, it fell into a stalemate. At this time, Yuan Chong Laozu led close to 20 Dharma adepts and rushed towards the hole in the formation from the left and right. Very quickly, they attracted the attention of the Mara army that had entered Qingling Island. Amidst the howling of a jade demon, 2 groups of Mara quickly rushed out from the battlefield and blocked off the Dharma adepts. The moment that jade demon gave the order, it also revealed its position. A great demon adept broke through the blockade of Mara surrounding it, and went straight for the jade demon. The jade demon no longer had time to give orders, and the nearby Mara army was in chaos. Dozens of Wan rose from Qingling Island and took the opportunity to attack the group of Mara, forcing the group of Mara to retreat. Tian Kong Laozu took the lead, and the mountain-splitting axe in his hand came crashing down. There was no one who could withstand it, and even the Jade Shura did not dare to take the mountain-splitting axe's attack head-on. Furthermore, behind Tian Kong Laozu, Lu Ping's pair of swords happened to protect his 2 wings. The Moonwater sword was unpredictable, and it was difficult to defend against. Occasionally, there would be bolts of Ain-water divine lightning that struck the group of Mara that was blocking their way. Even if the 2 of them were to meet 1 or 2 blood Mara blocking their way, they would still be beaten into a corner. Therefore, the 2 of them seemed to be very relaxed as they advanced. If it wasn't for the fact that they did not want to be too conspicuous among the crowd and attract more of the Mara army, they could have easily caught up to Yuan Chong Laozu's progress. Chapter 1053. Under the leadership of the Crystal Palace's Grand Adept Yuan Chong Laozu, nearly 20 Dharma adepts split into 2 groups and charged towards the gap in the formation, intending to reseal the gap and cut off Mara's escape route. Whether it was the pair of scissors or the blood-orange sword, although Lu Ping had better killing weapons in his hands, these 2 weapons could not see the light of day. He could only use the thin water-flowing sword, the nether water sword, and a few other magical powers to attack the enemy. Even so, the effect was no less than that of the adepts of the same level who had spirit treasures in their hands. Lu Ping and Tian Kong Laozu were lucky to be in the middle of the right path with Yuan Chong Laozu. Because Yuan Chong Laozu was charging in front, most of the Mara's attention was taken away. Tian Kong Laozu and Lu Ping's combined strength was far superior to that of the others, so it was not difficult for them to advance. It was also because of Yuan Chong Laozu's efforts that the adepts of the other sects did not dare to be too slow. They all chased after him from both sides, or killed more or less to share the pressure. This was also because of Yuan Chong Laozu's identity as a Grand Adept of the Crystal Palace. Everyone was somewhat afraid of him, but they did not dare to outwardly oppose him. Perhaps it was because of this that when a few Grand Adepts came to rescue Qingling Island, in the end, only Yuan Chong Laozu was left to wait for the other sect's reinforcements to arrive to carry out the task of cutting off Mara's escape route and sealing the gap in the formation. Yuan Feixiang pointed one hand to the sky, and the other to the dozens of Mara that were coming towards him. A ray of 7-colored lightning shot down from the sky, and the lightning wreaked havoc in the group of Mara. The dozens of Mara exploded in the air, leaving no survivors. Mr. Wen stood behind him. Any Mara that got close to him was silently cut into pieces, and then slowly melted and evaporated. With the 2 of them working together, Mara, who was nearby, did not dare to move forward for a moment. Yuan Fei looked up at the gap in the sky. Naturally, she also saw the Dharma adepts who had split into 2 groups and were charging towards the gap. Mr. Wen's voice sounded from behind him. Although the formation was weakened due to the influence of the Spirit Stone mine on the 5 Phantom Islands, it would have been very difficult to open such a small gap without Poison Azura's sudden appearance and restraining effect on the formation. Yuan Feixiang's expression was slightly gloomy, as if she was slightly disappointed. There seemed to be a strange space around Mr. Wen's body. If any Mara came within 300 feet of him, they would be attacked by the power of the space. Anyone below the Blood Mara level would be killed instantly. Yuan Feixiang suddenly laughed and said, Isn't this just right? Most of the great adepts from the various sects and tribes have arrived outside the formation to intercept the hidden Asuras. At most, there are only a few Jade Asuras and Jade Demons that have come in. In that case, we should take advantage of the situation to pursue and kill all the Mara that have entered Qingling Island. After saying this, there was a flash of lightning under his feet, and he was already more than 100 feet away. The power of thunder and lightning was centered around Yuan Feixiang, and it spread out in all directions. The dozens of Mara that were around him were beaten black and blue. Then, in a flash, he was another 100 feet away. It seemed that he was heading in the direction of the gap. Seeing this, Mr. Wen followed without saying a word. On the battlefield, there was a group of adepts that were charging left and right. When they encountered a Jade Shura, they dared to fight it head-on, injuring it and forcing it to retreat. The leader of the group was at the early Dharma stage. Above his head was a 9-story glazed pagoda that was dazzling to the eyes. It was like a dreamy water curtain that was hanging down from the pagoda, and the defense was solid. At the same time, a machete was circling around his body. Every time it flew out, at least 2 or more Mara would be killed. Brother Qin, why did you stop? Behind the leader of the adepts, another adept at the early Dharma stage saw that he had stopped and could not help but ask curiously. Brother Qin looked at the sky in the distance and said, Brother Zhou, take your brothers and fight your way out. I have to leave for a while. The friar heard this and panicked. He said, Brother Qin, where are you going? If you don't take charge, the power of our Dao soldier formation will be greatly reduced. If we encounter the Jade Shura or the Jade Demon again, we will not be able to fight them. Brother Qin did not pay attention to Brother Zhou's advice. He had already turned into a beam of light and was flying into the sky. He only said, That is why I asked you to take your men and rush out. Don't stay in the center anymore. I want to meet that poison Shura. Without the protection of Brother Qin's 9-story lapis lazuli pagoda, the power of the Dao soldier formation was greatly reduced. Brother Zhou gritted his teeth and said, Retreat, retreat. Perhaps Mara, who was outside the formation, had already sensed that the human and demon adepts were working together to seal the gap in the formation. At the same time, because the hidden danger that had affected the normal operation of the formation had been eliminated, the formation's ability to repair itself had increased again. With a series of roars, 4 Jade Shura squeezed through the gap. 2 of them went to block the Dharma adepts who were rushing in from the left, while the other 2 Jade Shura rushed towards the group of Dharma adepts that Lu Ping and the others were in. With a shout, a dazzling light appeared in Yuan Chonglau's hand. The light turned into 2 beams of light in the sky, striking towards the 2 Jade Shura. At the same time, a beautiful 9-story crystal pagoda rose above Yuan Chonglau's head. He had actually managed to hold back the 2 Jade Shura by himself. Everyone, do your best to advance. You must get rid of the poison Shura. Mara's army on Yuanling Island is already heading here as reinforcements. Once Qingling Island is lost, the other 4 islands will definitely be affected. Please! 1 Jade Shura was usually able to challenge a Deshura. Even if Yuan Chonglao had a spirit treasure, it would not be easy to hold them back if 2 Jade Shura joined forces. At this time, everyone was already deep in the back of the battlefield. Mara's army was doing their best to return. They could only advance and defeat the poison Shura who was preventing the formation from healing. They could then cut off the connection between the formation and Mara. That was the only way they could win this battle. Although the cultivators of the various sects could not be as united as one, they were not ignorant. At this time, the only way to win was to move forward bravely. Tiankong Laozu was the first to rush forward. Lu Ping looked around and found that there were indeed cultivators who wanted to follow. Lu Ping laughed coldly and pulled away from Tiankong Laozu by dozens of feet. The thin water and long stream swords turned into 2 giant dragons of sword light to protect the 2 wings. The Yin water divine thunder fell from the sky and raged from the left and right wings, leaving no room for the cultivators of other sects to intervene. At this time, if there were any cultivators who wanted to follow behind the two of them and take advantage of the situation, they would have to hide hundreds of feet away from the battle. These Dharma adepts were all famous people. They could take advantage of the situation and take advantage of the situation, but if they were known to be passive in avoiding the battle at this critical moment, then they would offend all the sects that participated in the battle. Even the Crystal Palace could not withstand this kind of pressure. Because Yuan Chong Laozu was sharing the pressure, and the two Dharma adepts Xinling were advancing bravely, the group of cultivators that Lu Ping was in was the first to reach the Poison Shura group. Lu Ping hurriedly stopped Tiankong Laozu, who was in front. The cultivators from the other sects, who were charging forward from the two wings, saw that victory was right in front of them. The opportunity to gain battle credits and increase their fame was right before them. Moreover, although the Poison Shura before them were strange, their cultivation levels were generally lower than Mara's army. Thus, they all overtook Tiankong Laozu and charged into the Poison Shura group. This person was naturally Lu Ping. It was Chu Haitian, whom he had saved previously. As for the giant Yuan Qi snake that had transformed earlier, it was naturally the green sea snakes, the first of the 3 generations, Chu Haitian. So it's a practitioner from the green sea snakes. No wonder he could ignore the Poison Shura's special power! Chapter 1054. The appearance of the 2 demon cultivators, Chu Hailan and Chu Haiping, hastened the encirclement and annihilation of Poison Azura. However, although Poison Azura did not participate in the Battle of Qingling Island, he arranged the clans according to their cultivation from the inside to the outside. Their progress was not slow, but most of the Poison Azura tribes had low cultivation. As Laozu and the others ventured deeper, more and more Poison Azura of greater Mara's level joined the fray, causing their progress to slow down. Even when Chu Hailan and Chu Haiying joined forces, they did not dare to venture deeper alone, fearing that they would be surrounded by the Poison Azura tribes. At this moment, another fiery light streaked across the sky, smashing into the Poison Azura group and exploding into a huge fireball. The Poison Azura within the range of the fireball were either killed or injured. Clouds of poisonous mist were melted by the orange-red flames. "Ha ha, Chu Hai Xiao, I was wondering why our competition to kill Mo Luo had reached a critical juncture, yet you had slipped away. It turns out that you have come here. Could it be that you think that you can gain an advantage here just by relying on your Emerald Sea Spirit Snake clan's poison immunity talent? I, Flame Coffin, will compete with you. If I kill more Poison Azura than you, the title of the strongest of the 3rd generation of the Overseas Demon Clan will fall on my head." A firebird descended from the sky, and another 3 fireballs flew out from its body, blasting open an empty space in the midst of the Poison Azura tribe. The firebird fell into it, and the flames on its body gradually receded, turning into a thin, tall, and handsome young man with red hair and eyebrows. He shouted at Chu Haitian, who was fighting the Poison Azura not far away. "Humph, Flame Coffin. Humph, Flame Spirit Coffin, you think you're worthy of being compared to Big Brother Tsunami? Don't think I don't know that you've taken a fancy to Yen Lingqi, but she doesn't like you. In order to get rid of you, she agreed to defeat Big Brother Tsunami and take the title of the strongest of the 3rd generation of the Overseas Demon race before meeting you. Her intention was to make you give up. Do you really think you can compare to Big Brother Tsunami?" The Flame Spirit Coffin was so angry that it roared. A 3-foot-tall flame rose from its body, and it jumped around in the crowd of poisonous Azuras. All the poisonous Azuras that came into contact with the flame were set ablaze. The Flame Spirit Coffin scolded, "Chu Hairan, you follower! Shut up! I'm going to compete with Chu Hairan, and you're not qualified to interrupt. Chu Hairan, just tell me, do you dare to compete or not?" Chu Haitian's cold voice was heard. "I, Chu Haitian, don't think that I can take the title of the strongest of the 3rd generation cultivator of the Overseas Demon Clan for sure." The flames on his body burned even more fiercely, as if to express the raging fighting spirit in his heart. Kong Qianjun chuckled and said, "This is going to be interesting." At this moment, a series of battle cries came from the other side of the gap in the formation. It turned out that the other group of cultivators had finally broken through Mara's blockade and killed their way to the front of the Battle of the Poison Azuras. The cultivator at the front was covered in lightning. Every poison azura that was struck by him was annihilated by the lightning before turning into a cloud of black fog. Yuan Feixiang took the lead and killed his way into the group of poison azuras. Mr. Wen, who was behind him, was nowhere to be seen. He invited them to fight from the other side. "I didn't expect to see such a scene. Green Sea Snake Chu Haitian, Fire Phoenix Flame Coffin, Kun Fish Kong Qianjun, Crystal Palace Qin Shijun. I wonder if Yuan Feixiang is qualified to compete with you?" As soon as Yuan Feixiang's voice fell, he heard Qin Shijun laugh and say, "So it's Brother Yuan. I originally thought that our human clan was weak this time, and the few junior brothers of our sect did not make it to the 5 islands of the illusionary spirit. This time, I'm afraid that we will be defeated by the few fellow Taoists of the demon clan. I never thought that Brother Yuan would be here as well." Chu Haitian also said, "The descendant of the #1 aristocratic family in the Middle Mainland. What a great reputation. I hope you won't disappoint us." Flame Coffin also said loudly, "Let's have a good show." Kong Qianjun sneered and said, "So you are from the Yuan family? Well, let's have a competition today. We will let the cultivation world know that the Kun Fish clan is the #1 lineal bloodline of Pingdaoren." Yuan Feixiang didn't take the provocation seriously. Instead, he shouted at the cultivators who had been fighting steadily on the outskirts, "Brother Jinling, is Brother Lu here? It's such a good opportunity, but Brother Lu is just watching the show quietly. I'm afraid it's not right, isn't it?" Originally, Lu Ping and Tiankong Laozu had joined hands to suppress Poison Azura. Although the successive appearances of Chu Haitian and the others had surprised Lu Ping was confident that his cultivation was not weaker than these people. He didn't want to compete with these prominent cultivators. After all, the Jinling sect behind Lu Ping was far from being on par with these famous sects and clans. Lu Ping didn't want to bring unnecessary trouble to his sect. However, after Yuan Feixiang called out, Lu Ping could no longer hide. Otherwise, his reputation would be ruined and he would be despised by others. Even if Lu Ping stood out, he wouldn't be recognized by the others. Lu Ping could only face the difficulties head-on and win respect with his strength. Otherwise, Lu Ping would still end up with an undeserved reputation. Of course, if Lu Ping's strength was recognized, Lu Ping's reputation would be even greater after this battle. Yuan Feixiang's call seemed to give Lu Ping a chance to stand on equal footing with the others, but in fact, it was full of danger. One wrong move and his reputation would be ruined. North Sea? Jinling? Since the fall of Fei Ling sect, is there any other powerful sect in North Sea? As expected, as soon as Yuan Feixiang finished speaking, the flame spirit coffin snorted coldly. "Hee, Jinling Lu Tianping. I've heard a little about him. Is he up to it?" Kong Qianjuan's simple and honest smile could fool those who didn't know his background into thinking for Lu Ping's safety. After all, this competition would definitely involve them killing their way into the hinterland of Poison Azura. It was definitely a risk of life and death. The Laozu from the other sects who were advancing side by side with Jinling looked at Tian Kong Laozu and Lu Ping with a mocking expression. Tian Kong Laozu's expression was dark, and he didn't say a word. Lu Ping, on the other hand, smiled and nodded slightly at Tian Kong Laozu. The thin water-flowing sword let out a deafening cry. Many of the adepts who were controlling their flying swords cried out in alarm. The flying swords in their hands actually felt as if they were about to lose control when the thin water-flowing sword let out a long cry. Chu Haitian gripped the jade cloud sword in his hand tightly. Naturally, the jade cloud sword would not be intimidated by the power of the thin water-flowing sword, but it also let out a similar cry. It wasn't yielding, but it was warning. None of the Dharma adepts present were blind. Naturally, Lu Ping's sect returning swords was more than enough for him to compete with many of the third-generation elites present. Just as the thin water-flowing sword let out a sword cry, the two sword dragons that had been circling around Tian Kong Laozu's wings roared into the sky. Instantly, they flew out from the wings and crashed into the group of poison azura. In an instant, more than 10 core forging stage poison azura were torn to shreds. Lu Ping followed closely behind. In the blink of an eye, he had also entered deep into the group of poison azura. The surrounding poisonous fog continued to gather towards him, but the golden shield around Lu Ping's body shone brighter and brighter. Since Brother Yuan has invited me, how would I dare not accept? If that was the case, then why not fight it out? Although Lu Ping kept a low profile, this did not mean that Lu Ping's heart was lacking in passion and pride. In such a situation, Lu Ping naturally had to take on the responsibility. Chapter 1055. It's you! It's you! Two exclamations rang out one after another. The first one was filled with hostility, and the second one was filled with disbelief. These two people were none other than Chu Haitian and Chu Haijin. As soon as the thin water-flowing sword appeared, the two of them naturally recognized that the person in front of them was the mysterious cultivator Lu Jiu who had saved Chu Haijin from the blood azura in the fallen secret land. However, at that time, Lu Jiu was full of demonic qi. Obviously, he was a member of the demon clan. How did he become a cultivator of the North Xijinling now? A small part of the reason why Lu Ping had kept a low profile was that he was afraid of being recognized by the two green sea snakes. After all, Lu Ping had saved Chu Haijin because he had other plans. However, after being challenged by Yuan Feixiang, he could no longer care about this plan. This time, it might backfire. Lu Ping cupped his hands and said with a wry smile, "Brothers Chu, we meet again. Previously, in the fallen secret land, I used the demon transforming bracelet to conceal my identity. I'm really sorry." Chu Haitian snorted coldly and said, "I knew that you were up to no good, but you didn't have to be so hypocritical." Chu Haijin said with a complicated expression, "In any case, Brother Lu has indeed saved my life. Even though I concealed my identity as a human, Brother Lu is still my savior." Lu Ping's smile became even more wry. 10,000 swords contend. Good move. Qin Shijun laughed and said, "I've heard that junior brother Wu highly praised Lu Daoyu. Today, I've seen that you live up to your reputation. Today's challenge will be fair. Both the human clan and the demon clan will have 3 people each. We will fight for who is stronger and who is stronger. What do you think?" The flame spirit coffin shouted. "Today's fight is only for fun. Who cares about race? Anyway, it's just this group of poison azuras. We can fight however we want. Why are there so many rules? You human clan cultivators are just too boring." However, Qin Shijun didn't feel offended in the slightest. Instead, he smiled and said, "Looks like I was too impulsive. Fine, we'll fight our own battles today. All I want is to be happy." As soon as he finished speaking, Kong Qianjun, who looked the most simple-minded, was the first to attack. A giant fish tail condensed in the air and swept forward. Any poison azura that was hit by the tail was smashed into a cloud of black mist, while those that were not hit were blown away by the strong wind generated by the fish tail. They fell towards where the others were. What Kong Qianjun did was not only to kill the enemy, but also to disturb the other competitors. It was indeed a good plan. The others all cursed him for seeming simple and honest, but in fact, he was cunning. He had taken care of those poison shura that were falling from the sky, but he had already let Kong Qianjun take the initiative. Kong Qianjun laughed out loud. He dashed forward like a hurricane, heading deep into the poison azura's territory. The others followed suit. They did not join hands with each other, fighting on their own as they went deep into the poison azura's territory. Lu Ping opened the way with the thin water-flowing sword. In a moment, Lu Ping had already noticed that the other 5's killing treasures were all First Tribulation spirit treasures. Kong Qianjun had a giant fish-tail fan, the flame spirit coffin had a fire bead, Chu Haitian had the blue heaven sword, Yuan Feixiang had a thunder awl, and Qin Shijun's scimitar. Even so, the thin water-flowing sword was still as powerful as a spirit treasure in Lu Ping's hands after the combination of the two swords. The two sword dragons circled and attacked each other, clearing the way for Lu Ping to move forward. For a moment, the five advanced side by side, with only Kong Qianjun slightly ahead. Facing the poison magic of the poison Shura, Yuan Feixiang had a relatively easy time with her thunder and lightning magic. Chu Haitian was strolling leisurely. The flame of the flame spirit coffin burned all kinds of poison magic with a sizzling sound. There was always running water flowing around Kong Qianjun's body, splashing the water that was contaminated with poison magic back at Kong Qianjun, giving him a taste of his own medicine, which helped him move forward. As for Qin Shijun, it seemed that he was completely resisting. The layers of light curtains hanging down from the 9-story glazed pagoda seemed to be endless, and no matter how many poison magic was applied on them, they could not corrode the light curtains. Lu Ping glanced at the 9-story glazed pagoda that was lit up, and a trace of doubt flashed across his mind. Then, he fell into deep thought. Ever since Lu Ping combined his protective vigor qi into one and used the myriad poison meteorite power as the main body to construct the heavenly water curtain, the power of this great protective magic seemed to have grown to the limit. However, after the battle with the poison Shura, Lu Ping instinctively wanted to collect the essence of the fallen poison Shura, but he suddenly found that his protective vigor qi was slowly and continuously absorbing the poisonous mist that pervaded the air. This poisonous mist was mostly made up of the essence of the poison Shura and the poison magic. Lu Ping could clearly feel that the quality of the protective vigor qi had improved. Lu Ping had many ways to resist poison. Other than the protective vigor qi, he also had the dark prison poisonous fire. However, Lu Ping had left the dark prison poisonous fire for Tian Kong Laozu. With old ancestor Tian Kang's abilities, even if he could face poison Azura's innate divine arts head-on, he would still have to expend a large amount of true essence to defend against the invasion of these divine arts. With the black prison venom fire in his hands, old ancestor Tian Kang's ability to continue fighting had undoubtedly been greatly extended. The most important thing that Lu Ping had, and also the trump card that allowed him to enter the poison Shura formation and scrupulously with the others, was naturally the pool of liquid in the golden house that was unknown whether it was the 10,000 poison source liquid or the 10,000 poison paste. While the protective vigor qi would only slowly absorb some of the poison mist to strengthen itself while resisting the attack of poison magic, the space door that Lu Ping had opened on his chest had become the window through which the green stone pool unscrupulously absorbed the nearby poison mist. If it wasn't for the fact that Lu Ping was moving extremely fast, perhaps a spectacular poison mist whirlpool would have formed around Lu Ping and attracted the attention of others. At this time, Lu Ping could feel that the wonder dew at the bottom of the green stone pool seemed to be changing very quickly. The wonder dew that Lu Ping had cut off a third of was being rapidly replenished by the poison Shura's original essence with the help of the pool water. A howl suddenly sounded, and Lu Ping was slightly startled. In Lu Ping's mind, he could sense that the moment the howl sounded, the others also paused for a moment. A Jade Shura level poison Shura? When Lu Ping raised his head to look, he saw 6 gray shadows in the poison Shura formation coming at the 6 of them from 6 different directions. It was a blood poison Shura. It was obviously obeying the orders of the Jade poison Shura from before. It seemed that this poison Shura group was led by a Jade poison Shura. As he spoke, a blood poison Shura leaped towards Lu Ping. Lu Ping extended his hand and a Kui water divine lightning struck down on the blood poison Shura's head. The poison Shura tried to dodge, but it was extremely difficult to dodge such a great god art of thunder. The poison Shura kept using space god art to change its position as it let out a strange sound. Then, it took out a wooden staff and pointed it at Lu Ping. Lu Ping felt a cold wind instantly invade his flesh and blood. Of all the defensive measures on his body, only the 1,000 poison meteorite vital energy seemed to have a slight effect on it. This strange power instantly spread after invading Lu Ping's body. In Lu Ping's mind, Lu Ping could sense that if this power was not stopped, the hair on his body would fall off from his skin would fall off from his muscles, and his muscles would fall off from his bones. The walls of his blood vessels were also softening, and his blood vessels seemed to have completely lost their circulation channels. Lu Ping suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. What a strange god art! Two loud sounds that sounded like the beating of a drum came from Lu Ping's heart. The blood throughout his body flowed like a raging river, and there was even a walala sound coming from his body. Spiritual ether surged all over his body. The spiritual ether that had fused with the wonder dew and the water of thunder calamity had an extremely strong resistance, an annihilation effect against any kind of poison. It blocked the strange power outside his skin. At this moment, the door of the golden house on his chest opened wide. The strange power that had spread all over Lu Ping's body was immediately absorbed by the green stone pool with extreme ease. However, when Lu Ping opened the invisible door, the poison Shura in front of him seemed to have discovered something extremely terrifying. It let out a shrill cry and turned to escape. Lu Ping seemed to have realized something. He knew that this was probably related to the liquid in the green stone pool that had seeped through the door. Naturally, he would not let it leave. He twisted his right thumb and middle finger, and a bolt of lightning shot out. The thin water-flowing sword immediately performed the seepage sword technique, forming a wall of sword light behind the poisoned Shura. The poisoned Shura panicked when he saw that his escape route was blocked. A sticky black liquid surged from the wooden staff in his hand, and he shot it at the wall of sword light. Lu Ping frowned slightly, but he did not stop it. The black liquid was nurtured in the spirit treasure. If it really came into contact with the treasure, even the treasure would be damaged and tainted. However, when the poisonous liquid seeped into the wall of sword light, the purplish-blue lightning immediately exploded in the wall of sword light. It formed a lightning net with the wall of light, blasting the black liquid into a cloud of black mist. At the same time, the sword light and lightning net flanked the poisoned Shura from both sides, trapping it within. Seeing that he could not escape, the poisoned Shura pounced at Lu Ping again. It was obvious that he was fighting with his life on the line. Lu Ping smiled faintly and pointed his finger in the air. A white ray of light shot into Poison Azura's body and froze it in midair. Then, Lu Ping flipped his hand and pushed the Poison Azura back into the sword net with the pushing wave of ocean sword skill. The sword light lightning net closed up immediately. Countless sword light fish with flashing lightning crisscrossed, and Poison Shura's shrill howl could be heard from within. Clouds of black mist and ink splashed left and right in the net, but they could not break through the sword light lightning net's restraints. Poison Shura's howl became softer and softer, and eventually disappeared. Lu Ping withdrew his swords, but there was nothing left in the sword net. They had obviously been annihilated by the lightning. Lu Ping secretly felt that it was a pity. At least he should have thrown the poisoned Shura's body into the bluestone pool. Lu Ping had killed the blood-poisoned Shura with ease. Although it was because Lu Ping had a secret that could restrain the poisoned Shura, the surrounding poisoned Shura had still retreated in front of Lu Ping. Lu Ping was able to advance. At the same time, he found that Chu Haitian had also killed the blood Shura that was blocking his way. The two of them advanced side by side from different directions, and had already surpassed Kong Qianjun. Chapter 1056. After the poisoned Shura perished, it would also turn into essence. But unlike the other Mara Shuras, the essence of the poisoned Shura was also poisonous. Under certain circumstances, it was a poison that was even more difficult to deal with than the poisoned Shura itself. Therefore, the Dharma adepts of the various sects who were surrounding and killing the poisoned Shura were doing it slowly and steadily. They did not charge straight in like Lu Ping and the others, because they did not want the poison Shura to take advantage of the chaos to rush into Qingling Island and cause mass destruction to the low-level adepts on Qingling Island. Although they were chasing or killing the poison Shura away, they were not chasing them out of the gap in the matrix. Instead, they were trying to get them out of the matrix through the gap. If they could not chase them away, they could only kill them. After killing them, they would have to use their own powers to dissolve the poison that the poison Shura emitted after it died. With such a complicated process, the various sects and demon Dharma adepts added up to nearly 30 people, but their progress was still very slow. Lu Ping killing the blood-poisoned Shura so easily surprised everyone. Chu Haitian and Lu Ping took the lead, advancing side by side. Then, Yuan Feixiang and Qin Shijun almost simultaneously finished off their opponents, and caught up, maintaining the same progress as Kong Qianjun, who was slightly behind them. The flame coffin was the last. The death of the 6 blood-poisoned Shuras had obviously alerted the Jade Shura hiding in the center of the poison matrix. There was a loud noise, and a thick cloud of poison mist rapidly shrank in the gap. Then, 3 Jade Shuras squeezed in through the gap. After the 3 Jade Shuras squeezed into Qingling Island, they immediately pounced on Lu Ping and the others. Lu Ping and Chu Haitian intercepted 2 of them first, while Yuan Feixiang, Qin Shijun, and Kong Qianjun rushed over to fight over the other one. In the end, the 3 of them joined forces to attack the Jade Shura. Although they said they were working together, they were actually not cooperating with each other. They were just fighting on their own, but it was enough to beat the Jade Shura into a corner. A Jade Shura with a companion spiritual treasure in her hand would normally be extremely difficult to kill, even for a great practitioner. However, the 3 early Dharma adepts in front of him could not be viewed as ordinary early Dharma adepts. Even though the 3 of them were fighting individually, they were still able to force the Jade Shura to retreat. The companion's spiritual treasure in her hand could only be used to block the attacks, and she could no longer fight back. The flame spirit coffin was the last one to catch up to Chu Haishao. It looked at Chu Haishao and Lu Ping, who were fighting alone, and smirked coldly at Lu Ping. Then, it turned into a ball of fire and charged towards Chu Haishao. "Get lost!" Seeing that the flame coffin was coming towards him, Chu Haitian seemed to be greatly insulted. He roared angrily as he fought the Jade Shura. The flame coffin chuckled and rushed over, completely ignoring Chu Haitian's roar. Chu Haitian was fighting the Jade Shura with all his might, and he could not spare any energy to chase the flame coffin away. He could only let it join the fight. Lu Ping was naturally aware of the situation on the battlefield. He knew that he had been intentionally or unintentionally isolated, but he didn't mind it at all. He could roughly guess what these people were thinking. Although his previous 2 performances had made everyone acknowledge his strength, as a genius practitioner from a remote place, his only advantage was that he was mysterious. People like Qin Shijun and Yuan Feixiang were born to be watched closely by others. Therefore, even though these people, including the cultivators of the 3 major demon tribes, did not have much contact with each other, they knew each other's methods very well. Only a practitioner like Lu Ping would make everyone want to see what tricks Lu Ping had up his sleeves. Of course, 1 Jade Shura should be enough to force him to use them. If Lu Ping could not stop the Jade Shura, or even escape from the Jade Shura, then Lu Ping deserved it. He did not even have the strength to fight a Jade Shura, so what right did he have to be on the same level as them? The Jade Shura that was fighting Lu Ping had a companion spirit treasure, a wind spike. When it was used, it was like a bone-chilling wind. It was everywhere, and it was even better than Lu Ping's seeping water sword. Lu Ping's flying swords fought the Windajura with speed, but it was still difficult for him to keep up with the Windajura's speed. Moreover, the quality of his flying swords wasn't as good as the Windajura's companion spirit treasure. Fortunately, Lu Ping had infused the water divine lightning into his swords. The thin water long stream sword's blade crackled with electric sparks from time to time. That was how he managed to hold his own against the Windajura. Even so, Lu Ping was losing ground under the Windajura's attacks. but it would not be easy for the Jade Shura to defeat Lu Ping. Qin Shijun and the other two were fighting on their own, but they were still watching where Lu Ping was. They saw that Lu Ping could fight the Jade Shura, and with his strength, even if he could not win, it would be easy for him to escape. The three of them looked at each other, and Qin Shijun suddenly blocked the Jade Shura's shovel. Kong Qianjun and Yuan Feixiang took the opportunity to fight back. The three of them worked together, and the Jade Shura dodged Kong Qianjun's fishtail fan, but Yuan Feixiang's rainbow thunder blasted the Jade Shura black. He is strong enough. Let's work harder and finish off this animal. Let's go help him. Do you have a backup plan? Of course not. At least, I haven't seen a Dharma. That's a desperate move. How many times have you used it? Well, I don't think I've used it once. Even if I did, you wouldn't tell me. The three of them talked, and Qin Shijun's scimitar cut off one of the Jade Shura's arms while the other two were busy fighting the Jade Shura. The Jade Shura screamed and turned to run. Qin Shijun and the other two didn't chase after her. Instead, they retreated a few dozen meters. Crack! There was a crisp sound, and Jade Shura's companion spirit treasure appeared where the three of them had been standing. When the companion spirit treasure cracked, the space around them was broken, but it was restored to its original state. What a shame! A spirit treasure with a space element. At that moment, Chu Haitian's green sky sword turned into a tsunami, and it stopped the other Jade Shura. The flame coffin laughed, and 7 fireballs came out of the flame coffin's body. They shot into Chu Haitian's sky and caused a huge explosion. The sky was filled with white mist. Chu Haitian waved his sleeves, and the white mist disappeared. The Jade Shura was running away, and a few pieces of it shot around, killing a dozen poison Shuras nearby. Clearly, the Jade Shura had been forced to explode her spirit treasure to block Chu Haitian and the flame coffin's spells. Haha, Brother Chu and Brother Flame, you are so powerful. I admire you. Qin Shijun and the others didn't leave after they injured the Jade Shura. Seeing that Chu Haitian and the flame coffin had succeeded, they walked up to them. The flame coffin smiled proudly and said, "No matter what, we are one step behind Brother Qin." Kong Qianjun let out a strange laugh and said, "Should we help that one?" Chu Haitian had a strange look on his face. He said coldly, "I advise you to turn around and watch." The others were shocked. When they turned around, they saw that the battle between Lu Ping and the third Jade Shura had been covered by a mist that was dozens of feet wide. There was no sound coming from the mist, as if it had become a world of its own. Everyone's expressions changed. When did this happen? None of them had noticed it before, and when they saw the white fog, their divine senses felt lost when they came into contact with the white fog. Fear appeared in their hearts, and they all withdrew their divine senses. They looked at each other, but no one said anything. After a while, Qin Shijun sighed and said, "It seems that we've all underestimated this mysterious North Sea cultivator. I think we shouldn't be stingy with our respect." A flame flashed in the flame coffin's eyes, and he said, "Let's wait and see what happens." As soon as he said that, there was an explosion in the white mist. It was like a pot had been boiled. When they looked up, they saw the Jade Shura suddenly run out of the mist. She didn't even look back as she ran. When the white mist dispersed, Lu Ping's face was a little pale, but he walked out unscathed. He looked at the surprised people and smiled. "It seems that we are the last to fall this time." "Haha, of course not." The flame coffin was the first to laugh. "We were going to help Brother Lu, but we didn't expect Brother Lu to be able to defeat the Jade Shura all by himself. We really admire you." The others either agreed, smiled, or treated Lu Ping coldly. But in short, there was no longer any contempt in their attitude towards Lu Ping. Instead, there was a kind of fear. Qin Shijun said, "I just checked the center of the gap. It seems that there are 3 Jade Poison Shuras controlling the Poison Shura formation. They are trying their best to prevent the island's protective formation from recovering. It seems that our opponents in the final battle will be these 3 jade poisoned shuras. Although the people's expressions didn't change, their eyes were flashing. They were secretly surprised. When did Qin Shijun check the center of the gap, and what method he used to check it? No one had noticed. Qin Shijun didn't seem to notice the people's gazes. He said, "Everyone has encountered the blood-poisoned shura. I think you all know the strange methods of the poisoned shura. Their strength is far greater than that of the ordinary blood shura. If that's the case, the jade poisoned shura's strength is also far greater than the jade shura's." Qin Shijun paused for a moment before continuing. "The 3 jade poisoned shuras are the key to preventing the island's protective formation from recovering. Once they are dealt with, the formation will definitely be able to quickly close up and we will be victorious in this battle. Thus, I suggest that we end this battle as soon as possible. The 6 of us should also join forces against the enemy." After Qin Shijun finished speaking, he looked at the crowd, hoping to get their support. However, he immediately heard Chu Haishao, who was usually cold and quiet, suddenly say, "Lu Tianping and I will deal with one of them." Chapter 1057. "I will deal with one of them with Lu Tianping," Chu Haitian suddenly said. Not only Lu Ping, but the others were also very surprised. Chu Haitian had always been a proud and aloof person. He rarely joined hands with others to fight against an enemy. But now, he actually took the initiative to join hands with Lu Ping. If this news were to spread out, it would definitely cause a lot of eyeballs to fall to the ground. Qin Shijun was stunned for a moment, then he smiled bitterly and said, "Brother Chu, it's not that I want to talk too much, but this is not a trivial matter. It is the key to whether Chunling Island can get rid of Mara's army and repair the gap. We should first send 2 fellow Taoists to deal with 2 of them, then the 4 of us will join hands to kill one of them. This is the only way to win." Seeing that Lu Ping didn't object, Chu Haitian stood beside Lu Ping, turning a deaf ear to Qin Shijun's words. Qin Shijun smiled bitterly and turned to look at Lu Ping. Lu Ping made a helpless gesture, so Qin Shijun didn't say anything. Instead, he tried to organize the remaining 4 people. Since Lu Ping and Chu Haitian were going to join hands to deal with one of the jade poisoned shura, as long as one of the remaining 4 people could deal with one of the jade poisoned shura, the other 3 could still kill one of them. Unexpectedly, Yuan Feixiang suddenly smiled and said, "In that case, Brother Qin, why don't you and I join hands to deal with one of them?" Qin Shijun was stunned. Before he could react, the flame coffin laughed strangely and said, very good, very good. This is fair. Kong Dayu, what do you think?" Kong Qianjun still had a silly smile on his face and said, "Whatever you guys say." Qin Shijun could only continue to smile bitterly. He looked at Yuan Feixiang and said helplessly, "Since that's the case, I, Qin, can only go with the flow. Who knows, I might have to compete with you all. Brother Yuan, I'll have to ask for your help." Yuan Feixiang also smiled and said, "You are too kind." Lu Ping could not kill a Jade Shura face to face, even if he used all his skills. Qin Shijun, Kong Qianjun, and Yuan Feixiang could roughly guess the result from the fight with the 3 Jade Shuras. Qin Shijun, Kong Qianjun, and Yuan Feixiang had only destroyed 1 Jade Shura and let it escape in the end. Although the 3 of them still had tricks up their sleeves, the Jade Poisoned Shura was stronger than an ordinary Jade Shura. Plus, she had many strange tricks up her sleeves that were hard to defend against. But then again, with the strength of the 6 of them, the difference between them was only a hair's breadth. If they really wanted to compete with the Poisoned Shura, they had to challenge a high-risk target. Only then would they be able to use their skills to the fullest. Otherwise, this fight would only be a formality. The 6 of them reached an agreement. Chu Haitian left first, and Lu Ping had no choice but to follow. After the 2 of them had walked for dozens of feet, Lu Ping could not help but ask, "Brother Chu, why do you want to join forces with me?" Chu Haitian looked at him confusedly and asked, You don't know? This question confused Lu Ping, so he asked. Know what? Chu Haitian suddenly understood and said, It seems that this is another one of Sister Helen's tricks. Lu Ping was shocked and said, Chu Hailan? What did she say to you? Chu Haitian said, She said that you have something that I need, and it seems that you need me to help you with something. Among the third-generation disciples of Green Sea Snake, perhaps I am the only one who can help you. Lu Ping already had some guesses in his mind, but he did not want to say much. He said, I may have some guesses in my mind, but I have more than one appointment with Miss Chu, so I am not sure which one you are talking about. Chu Haitian glanced at Lu Ping, as if he could read Lu Ping's mind. Lu Ping's expression did not change, and he waited for him to speak. Chu Haitian was silent for a moment and said, Actually, Sister Hailan did not tell me what it was. She only said that we could tell each other what we need, and if it worked out, it would be a win-win situation. The twin swords in Lu Ping's hands turned into a flurry of sword lights as he executed the whirling chain slash. While the Jade Poison Shura was distracted by the Jade Poison Shura, Lu Ping took advantage of the opportunity and slashed towards the back of the Jade Poison Shura. At the same time, he said to Chu Hai, Oh, then what does Brother Chu need me to do? Chu Haitian's Jade Sky Sword was blocked by Poison Shura, but there was a loud noise behind Poison Shura. A colorful mist rose and became a mist shield. Lu Ping quickly dispersed his great power and recalled his swords. He cursed and said, F***CK, what bad luck! Chu Haitian's cold face had a smile on it. A blue flying sword suddenly appeared out of nowhere and was headed for Jade Shura's forehead. Ding! The spirit treasure in Poison Shura's hand was a soft whip, and the head of the whip was embedded with something that looked like gold, or jade. Poison Shura's soft whip was fighting with the Jade Sky Sword, but the head of the whip suddenly appeared in front of her forehead and blocked the Water Ghost's sword's strange attack. The Water Ghost's sword was knocked back, and Chu Haitian complimented. The Shapeless Sword spell is indeed extraordinary. It is a shame that this shapeless sword is not as good. Lu Ping grabbed a sunflower water god and threw it at Poison Shura, continuing to work with Chu Haitian's attack. He said, Brother Chu, be careful. This Shura is going to fight back. As soon as Lu Ping finished speaking, a cloud of colorful mist suddenly appeared in front of Chu Haitian, almost spraying him in the face. Chu Haitian was shocked. With his talent and skills, he was not afraid of being corroded by the poisonous mist, but when he saw that the colorful mist was the same as the one that Poison Shura had used to block Lu Ping's thin water-long flow sword, he did not want to fight it head-on. How could Poison Shura have such a dirty trick? Chu Haishao took a step back and used his space powers. He retreated more than 100 feet and avoided the colorful mist. At the same time, he stayed far away from Poison Shura's attack range. Jade Shura suddenly turned around and swung the whip in her hand at Lu Ping. Lu Ping was shocked, and his two flying swords blocked the whip. But the whip was weak, and Lu Ping's block was not very effective. It continued to hit Lu Ping. At this moment, Chu Hai's voice suddenly sounded in Lu Ping's ears. Brother Lu, I'm not good with words, so I'll be frank. I'm going to use the first lightning tribulation to condense an innate supreme technique. However, in order to successfully condense this supreme technique, I'll need an item. Sister Hailan once said that Brother Lu might have this item. Even if you don't, you should have some clues about it. The surrounding water vapor gathered around Lu Ping, forming ribbons of water behind him. Under Lu Ping's control, the ribbons of water wrapped around the incoming whip. Even after the ribbons of water dissipated, the ribbons of water continued to surge forward and finally neutralized the force of the whip. Chu Haitian's green sky sword finally came to take some of the pressure off Lu Ping, and then he said, Sister Hailan said that Brother Lu's protective chi can be used to cultivate the 1,000 poison meteorite power shield, and what I need is the 1,000 poison paste needed to cultivate the 1,000 poison meteorite power shield. Lu Ping heard that it was indeed this item, but there wasn't the slightest hint of joy on his face. Instead, he smiled bitterly and said, If I can really use this item to exchange for Brother Chu's help, then I will naturally be more than happy to do so. However, this is not an easy task. Even Brother Chu will find it extremely difficult to accomplish. It won't be too late for me to tell Brother Chu the details after this matter is over. Oh? Is there such a thing? Chu Haitian's face showed a hint of confidence. Obviously, he did not think that Lu Ping's request could stump him, but he did not force it. Instead, he said, "Fine, then let's take care of this beast first." After saying that, the green sky sword shot into the sky with a green sword light, and condensed into a round ball of light in midair, as if a full moon had appeared in midair. It was the famous supreme sword skill of the green sea snakes. Bright moon over the sea. Poison Shura seemed to have also noticed that the sudden appearance of the moonlight in midair seemed to contain a great risk. His spiritual companion Treasure also shook into several rings in midair, and the space in the center of each ring was corroded by the poison. The moonlight fell, and most of it was devoured by the torn pitch-black door. Only a small amount of moonlight was left to shoot at Poison Shura, but it was covered by countless whip shadows. It was rumored that the supreme sword skill of the bright moon over the sea sword skill was said to be everywhere the moonlight shone. Although Poison Shura did not know the details of the sword skill, he could sense the danger. He danced with a soft whip, and the water could not be splashed, as if it had condensed into a whip cloud above his head. Not only did the whip cloud block the moonlight, but it also blocked Lu Ping's dual flying swords. At the same time, clouds of black fog seeped out of the whip cloud. The black fog kept changing, and finally formed a monster that ran towards the moonlight in midair. It opened its huge mouth and tried to swallow the full moon. Seeing that Chu Haitian's supreme sword skill was about to be broken by Poison Shura, Lu Ping's dual flying swords suddenly combined, and lightning flashed on the blades. Suddenly, it turned into a 30-meter-long sword dragon that pounced towards the whip cloud. Amidst the loud crackling sounds, the sword dragon was smashed into pieces by the whip cloud. However, the sword dragon successfully opened up a huge gap. A ray of light flashed through the gap, and Lu Xiaoping appeared in front of Poison Shura. He shouted, "Kill!" The 5-inch blue willow sword on his back was unsheathed, and with a stab and a flick, one of Poison Shura's eyeballs had already been dug out. Poison Shura roared, and a whip shadow split apart and lashed at Lu Xiaoping. The tip of the blue willow sword that was holding Poison Shura's eyeball also made a sizzling sound, and the eyeball turned into a pool of poisonous water that was about to corrode the blue willow sword. A spirit hand suddenly appeared behind Lu Xiaoping and saved Lu Xiaoping from the whip shadow. At the same time, a spirit liquid containing infinite vitality was flicked onto the blue willow sword by Lu Ping. It exploded into a white and black mist, and the poison on the blue willow sword was instantly washed away. Lu Xiaoping's ambush had blinded one of Poison Azura's eyes and disrupted Poison Azura's poison mist whip cloud. Lu Xiaoping let out a long howl, and the bright moonlight suddenly exploded. Countless solid blue sky sword chi descended from the sky, and every single one of them pierced through a whip shadow like it was nailed to a poisonous snake's weak spot. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.